Hello, hello. Give me a moment. Unprepared. Welcome to the AstroPub. Welcome to the office hours. Sounds like I'm distant because I am. And that's my alarm. Going good? Ah. Not too cold where I am? Not at all. 57 degrees Fahrenheit, so like I don't think even out of the teens Celsius. All right. Almost ready. Woof. Negative 11C. That is quite cold. All right, let's get to the office, shall we? Welcome to the office hours. This is a live stream that I do on Twitch and YouTube on Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, I believe. On Thursdays, we talk about Star Citizen, the updates on Star Citizen, and a bunch of other things as well. So today is going to be a very, very special day because today is the end of the drought. We've had an information drought for about a month now, where CIG hasn't really released something. We had some surprise stuff like the letter from the chairman and such, but this is the first week we got the monthly reports back. So the November and December monthly reports. So we'll be going over that. Yeah, I can turn it down a little bit. Been wrestling with the cam settings because the problem is every time you do a an update, Hey, a tip.
Mr. Hyde, super chatted $5. Astro, I just wanted to stop by and say good luck on live video. I have to get back to work. I'll watch it later, buddy.
Thank you, Mr. Hyde's Monster, for that $5 super chat. You were a very important pub, a very impressive pussy. You rock. All right. Is that about right? I'll turn it down a little bit more. That better? It's pretty much spot on even, so. Paul, what's your favorite red ship? The red? Yeah, I saw the patch notes. Looks good. There's a couple of things we'll talk about. That Indian accent kills you every time. Well, the Indian accent is specifically an homage to Avasarala from The Expanse, so. Man, I wish I was wrestling with my cam. It's not even that. It's the cam settings change every Windows update. No, I just the bot hadn't been updated. You should be able to see it now. Yes, everything was reset to 0 on Sunday. That's bad. Oh well. So, this is actually a pretty big one. I'm going to pull this up from the Y patch notes. Because there's a you don't usually read the patch notes on especially PT patch notes on this stream, but I do want to pull it up because there is a specific quote here, which I will read off. Hey, Victoria. That's because she is Persian. Stop and sniffer. The actress is, but the character's supposed to be Indian. All right, so it may be hard to see. I'll try to expand it a little bit more. So gameplay, vehicles, and ship armor has been rebalanced to account for ballistics piercing through shields as a stopgap until future armor rework. Now, that is an interesting statement for this one. I will say I don't think interesting good. One of the things that I will disagree, I think I disagree with some of my own chat and some of my own Discord about this, is I do not believe that is a good sign, personally. Because we had the heartbeat implemented as a stopgap for 30K issues. And we're still not going to be seeing the DT thing, the full removal of 30K as a problem for a while now. We won't see it in 3.18. We may not see it in 3.19. The earliest we might see it is 4.0, I think. Maybe 3.20 if there is one. And if that's the case, then that's probably not going to happen until like March of next year. So we're still a year away from armor being actually added into the game. Well, no, sorry, for 30K. So I think similarly, if they're doing this stopgap now, we're at least a year, if not 2 years away from armor being added to the game. That's just based off of past experience. I'm going to go with that one. And I'd rather lean on the more conservative ideas for that rather than setting people expectations a little higher. So. UES Warhammer 30K, yeah. What streaming service is host the Expanse? Amazon Prime, yeah. Yes, Area 30,000 is just a general code for the client server disconnect, but the real problem with 30K is that it erases your progress. So we'll never get rid of 30Ks because it's just an error code, but we will eventually have a point where the 30K is no longer a problem. Where if you crash, you can just get back in. You've kept everything, your materials, your reputation, the mission, everything. But that's going to require the underlying service, what do they call it? The replication layer, to be working off of all shards, which currently doesn't work. It's currently stuck to a shard, which is just a server. No, the replication layer works. It's not just server meshing. You can do it before server meshing, and they probably will, but it may not necessarily work fully at launch. They may not have the ability to track all that information. So, like, yeah. Will armor be possible with how the hull scraping is now that hull scraping is in? Yeah, it always will be possible. We just don't know to what degree or how CIG is going to implement armor. If it's just a layer that you add to the hull, if it's a separate service like a gun or a component that you buy to add on top of it. We don't know how they're going to implement it, and frankly, neither does CIG, because currently it's just a value added to the whole. I think the Legionnaire needs armor for its gameplay, so if it releases by LW, maybe armor will come soon. No. I think that's pure hopium. That's just dreamer talk. There's no way that's happening. The reason why it's not happening is because, as we'll read in the monthly report, there is no mentions of armor being tested in any way, shape, or form. There's no like discussion of it. There is a progress tracker, but progress tracker is the weakest of the data you need to really see what CIG is doing. No, so the monthly report is for the last 2 months of the year, because they didn't do one for November because they're focused on IAE and the end of the year patch. So this is stuff that was done by CIG the end of last year, which probably, a lot of it actually never, because I've already read it, a lot of it never got to ISC or anything like that. Will armor be physicalized? We have no clue. Damage reduction stopgap, soft death stopgap. I could already see the new name, stopgap citizen. I mean, that is the name of the game, and I think there's a lot of people, probably the saltiest people in the game, are happy about stopgaps because it actually makes the game playable. Unfortunately, CIG has constantly caught in this problem where if they don't have a solution to a problem, immediate solution to the problem, they either pretend it doesn't exist or and then wait until they can actually fix the problem, which by the time that comes around, it's already like entirely killed the gameplay for it, or not even the solution they needed, and have to kind of go back to the drawing board, or they create a stopgap, which again is effectively what most of the game is right now. It's temporary additions to the game that are designed to make the game playable while they build out the rest of the stuff. Projectiles will be physicalized, so the armor should be as well. Probably not in the way that we think, though. I think projectiles will be physicalized in the sense they'll be calculated, but you won't actually see the bullet in-game. Or the bullet where it hits won't necessarily be exactly where it hits. Like, you won't see a bespoke bullet hole where that bullet goes into the hole. You'll just see a bullet hole, mark show up on the general area where it hits, and the game will calculate where that bullet would have gone. Question: when will we get armor locker working? Not a clue. Probably post 4.0. Haven't seen the report. Any ship release announcements? A lot of ship release announcements. So we'll go over here in a bit, but I'm gonna just getting started when people filter in. Dead Ringer, the problem about War Thunder, comparing it to War Thunder, is that War Thunder is an arena shooter. War Thunder is a much smaller scale, and it's effectively a shoebox compared to the scale that Star Citizen's working in. And the speeds are much slower compared to the speeds that Star Citizen's working in. Yeah, no UI section report either. Same issue with legacy bugs. They stopgap, ignore it, and people get used to it, so they never actually get fixed. Well, a lot of it is just straight up. They don't have, like, a lot of those bugs are fixable. There's no point in addressing them because they're going to come out with new tech to replace it. But everything has been delayed because they have to get the core elements into the game and Squadron 42. So if it's not part of Squadron 42 and it's not a core element like server meshing or PES or that kind of stuff, then it's not worth putting effort into. Do the Pirates of Pyro have names? No, not in lore. They're just called Pyro 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 5 and 6. They may have names from the locals, but there is no names. And then that's the case with a lot of planets in the Star Citizen universe. Most of them don't have names. White Box. Spirit Series is in White Box, Mr. Hyde's Monster. I'll go over it when we do the monthly report, but it's definitely in White Box. Spirit Series in Gray Box, I believe C1 is will release before the A1. CIG says they are very close to E1 and the NPC implementations, but how close was close enough to release the C1 and A1? So E1 is not coming out until they make release the E1 before they have any NPC stuff, just because they don't need the NPC stuff for it to function. It's just its main draw, but CIG has gotten away with the cheeky shit before with the weasel words. Because they said, we're not releasing any more ships until they have full functionality. And then, like, literally that same month, they dropped the fucking raft, which does not have full functionality. But technically it works. Because you can technically trade in the game. And it's like, wow, CIG, way to fuck up that saying. And so that's the same thing. They'll release the E1 well before they have AI being available. Because they'll be like, technically, you don't need AI to be able to transport luxury stuff. You could do transport missions right now. Just like technically we'll release 4.0 at the end of the year in PTU. Like, weasel word bullshit is what CIG likes to go for. But the A1, the bombs already exist. CIG built the bombs well before they built the A1. They've been having working, the bombs for the A1 have been working in game for, or at least being tested in game for a bit. So. And the C1 is not that hard for them to do. But it's in it's in White Box. I would expect the Spirit to come in probably around IAE or CitizenCon. Whatever patch it is, like 3.20 or 4.0. Or whatever the IAE patch is. Am I being jealous tonight? I mean, the reality is that, like, a lot of stuff CIG does and a lot of stuff CIG says needs to get called out on a regular basis. And the way they communicate with the community and the way they lead the community on often is shitty. For instance, right now we have heard nothing about their projected plans for 3.18. It is currently the 19th of January in 2023. The PTU, 3.18 PTU is still in Wave 1, as far as I know, unless the latest wave went to Wave 2, but I don't think so. Which means that they have until, if they release to Wave 2 or Wave All tomorrow, that means they have a total of 11 days for it to be released in January. We all know that's not going to happen. Because this is a very big patch that requires a lot of testing and a lot of patience. And we know that likely not everyone from CIG who even works on the need to work on 3.18 is even back in the office yet. So we'll know more towards the end of January, but CIG still hasn't updated about what the status, their projected status for release for 3.18. It's like, open communication works, CIG, but you got to be open about it. You got to be talking about it. And I know that it takes a long time to move the boat, but it takes one person 5 minutes to say, "Yeah, we're reviewing what we're going to when we think we're going to release it." Updated projection is February, March. Like, that's all it takes. One person to say that. People are going to give you shit no matter what because you decided to give us projections. So if you're going to be giving us projections, then keep it up to date. Don't half-ass it. You can't have your cake and eat it too with this situation. So people still aren't back in the office? When's everyone back? Probably not until February. You got to remember that CIG developers are humans. They're not robots. So they have this thing called time off that they can cache. And what better time to cache your time off then the month that is the slowest and most dead month for all video games outside of July. Pretty good time, especially when you have a lead up of a 2-week vacation that you can that the company's paying you for. Cashing your 2 weeks or several weeks of paid vacation at the beginning of the year, fantastic time to go on trips because flights are usually pretty cheap. It's usually pretty easy to do so. So I wouldn't be surprised if many individuals at CIG are currently taking their time off. In fairness, most Americans don't know how much time about time off. That is true. Apparently, we won't be hearing anything about 319 until February 8th. February 8th. That's an awful. That is a very specific date. College just wading through like Kool-Aid wades through walls. Yes. Yes, Spirit has scheduled work until past June. So yeah, it's almost certainly not going to come out until IAE. We'll talk about that in a moment. Wait, what? These devs are humans? Oh, the deception. Yeah. You also got to remember that currently many of the lead... I follow a lot of people on Twitter. A lot of CIG devs on Twitter. I'm not stalking, I swear to God. Because a lot of them also do Warhammer stuff, so I like to follow them for their Warhammer stuff. And other game stuff too, so I can kind of catch up on them. A lot of them have been posting about going to the US. So a lot of people in the UK have been going to Austin and LA and vice versa. So this is the time period when CIG does what they call their... Oh, what is it called? Oh, I used to know the name. I can't remember it. There's a specific term they use. Summits. Thank you, Darsh. They do their summits where they get the UK ship team will all get together with the US ship team and they'll all sit down in one place and talk. You know, all of the FPS teams across all of the studios will sit down and talk and kind of like get all of their priorities straight and just, you know, do that for a couple of days. And then, you know, and they may do that for like a day of work and then afterwards they all get drunk. They all go out and get drunk, or they all go out and do games or bowling or something like that. You know, big team bonding exercises and go hang out. So, or around a campfire too. That would work too. And that helps them kind of bond a little bit as well as kind of keep everything on sync. Devs are Tesla bot. It's open source intel gathering, not stalking. Human need human things to human. Yeah. I believe that date in particular was when Jake gets back from his break, which means that Jake is currently going around the world to do Bar Citizen on his fucking vacation, Jake. Jake. I hope you're getting these vacation days back. I know he loves doing it anyways. He wouldn't work in the CIG if he didn't love it. So, but I can tell you it's been a miserable weather here in Austin. So, what's the next? That's the next roadmap date. Yeah, that's because when Jake's getting back from his break. But I do not think we will see 319 updated until 318 is released. Probably the roadmap roundup after 318 is released. So, while I am harsh on CIG doing what they should be doing, I also understand that CIG are human and made up of humans. It's mostly me criticizing CIG management for not following through with what they should be doing, which is keeping their customers and their investors in many ways informed of what is the current status of their latest stuff. They are giving us release understanding, like, you know, patch notes and all that sorts of stuff. But most people are not going to be doing PTU builds, and the Wave 1 team is very small compared to Wave 2 and open PTUs. So most of those people would like to know when you're planning on releasing your release there, CIG. And I get it, you're short-staffed, but all it takes is 5 minutes. just guesstimate off the back of your head based off of, what you can think of. And it doesn't even have to be completely accurate, as long as it's, in the ballpark. But this is why CIG doesn't like me. That's okay. I don't do this for the sake of CIG. I do it because I enjoy it and for you, chat, and for you watching. Do you have any concern how late in the year they started groundwork on vehicle tractor beams? No, because tractor beams, we have tractor beams in the game now. Like, we've had tractor beams in the game for 2 years or 3 years now. So I imagine the vehicle tractor beams is more of a scale up, and then how does it interact with the ships themselves. So I don't think it's nearly as complex as the original tractor beam technology was. Yeah, I know we're not technically investors, but we did put money into the game, and CIG did say they would treat us like investors. Part of their pledge is they would treat us like producers, like publishers, and keep us up to date about it, which is sort of true. CIG is treating us like publishers. They're trying their best to ignore us and placate us. Shut up, and Walker. Come on, they love you. They even gave you special name ship. No. Nope. Do you think we'll see Polaris in the game before or after Squadron 42 with another cap ships? After. I don't think the Polaris is in Squadron 42 unless they did a major change to the lore, because it was built after the attack on Vega, and the Squadron 42 story starts before that. Did they update the roadmap? No, they did a, did I say roadmap? I must have screwed up and said roadmap. No, monthly report. The monthly report is what they did. Treat us like investors mean bullshitting us constantly each quarter? Exactly. Could be worse. They could be telling, well, I mean, like, all of this stuff is done in the sense that CIG doesn't have to be this open. There are many other companies who do crowdfunding stuff that are not nearly this open as CIG is. CIG is incredibly open, which is one of those things where I think a lot of people misunderstand. They're like, oh, but CIG's been working on all these stuff behind the scenes. It's like, if CIG hasn't told you on the progress report or any other things about working on something you're looking at, then they're not working on it. There might be one dude. There might be Kevin, who's working on armor right now. Kevin may be very passionate about armor, but he's one dude in a company of hundreds and probably splitting his time between other things as well. That's not going on the monthly report or the progress tracker. We do know that the progress tracker does have physicalized damage, but we don't know what that entails. Any clue on persistent hangars in the PU? This year. Don't know when, but this year. I'd hope before 4.0, but that could be a after 4.0 thing. Let's go, Kevin! True hero of CIG. Did you stalk him too? God damn it. No, I'm saying is that Kevin isn't going to single-handedly make the things you want in the game, because he's doing other things as well. How long was the Battle of Overrod? Wasn't that when the Retribution was first fielded? Yeah, 2946. 46 or 47? I think 46. Operation Mandrake was that one, yeah. Watch there actually be a guy at like Manchester named Kevin who works on physicalized armor. I will feel like an asshole. Are there pleasure bots in Squadron 42? Probably not. Excited about the Daymar Rally? I'm always excited about the Daymar Rally because I take that day off. I've always said that the Daymar Rally, I've been a supporter of the Daymar Rally for years, since before it really kind of blew up as an event, since it's, I think it's first or second year that it was run. They actually have lore for it, which I did a video on. In fact, I got to talk with them and have them update their lore a little bit, because some of it is like, talks about Dunlow. There's a reference to Dunlow, and they have the name Dunlow being not who Dunlow actually was. But that's no different from CIG's lore, which is all over the place at times. Did they fix the prison bugs yet? Not a clue. It's not that difficult. You just say you're watching a race, Velocity. If your mother's like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm watching a race. You know, tell her about the Dakar Rally, because that's all it is. It's the Dakar Rally in Star Citizen. What time does it start? I have to look it up. Usually early in the morning my time, because it's on Saturday. It's on Saturday. Is it Atmo Esports now? There's still daymarrally.com. Calendar. So this says it starts at 4 p.m. I guess my time, because it may automatically change that. 16:30 UTC. Is when it starts on January 21st. Well, the latest patch altered ship holes to cater for ballistic changes until the future armor works, so we can dream. Yeah, it's just hopium, though. It's not bad. It means that they're trying to gather more data about ballistics, because they want to keep ballistics they want to keep the ballistics where they currently are, and they're setting these placeholder armor values so they can like try to keep things not broken. But yeah, there won't be any robots for Squadron 42 or Star Citizen. We might see a virtual assistants or like droids almost. They can't call them droids because that's a property of LucasArts. I think they called them bots though. There's like a repair bot that you can use, but there's no Fisto, no HookerBot 5000 or whatever. There's none of that kind of stuff is going to happen in Star Citizen or Squadron 42. That sucks. You have to work on Saturday. Well, it does go until 11 p.m. my time. So, Sunday. If this is right. I think it's supposed to say 11 p.m. Saturday night, but hopes deleted. Yeah. If someone donates $5, I'll join the VIP membership for AstroPub. Let's help out Paul. Thank you, Mr. Hides. The money is nice, but I don't do it for the money. Money just helps me pay for my editor and like equipment and such. Yeah. Twitter is dead. It's just gonna die slowly. Is the issue. I don't really care about that. Wizards of like as much as I've dunked on CIG tonight, I will also like to say At least it's better than Wizards of the Coast. Holy shit. That is a dumpster fire. That is a dumpster fire right now. That bar is trippable. Yeah, Gin Tonic's right. There's a repair bot of some kind that we're gonna get, but I don't know if that's gonna squat in 42. What do I think about 317.5? It's just an event patch. We'll get one. We'll get another one for Coromore in February because we'll get a 317.6 because 318 is not coming out anytime soon. What's that about Twitter? It was all right before Musk bought it, and I was trying to do a bunch of changes. Like, for instance, he's going to give people with who paid for the check marks the ability, if they mute or block people, then that will de-emphasize those people as the people they block's tweets. So you can basically pay for the privilege of deauthorizing other people to try to get people to pay $8 to use social media. So, like, the only reason I use Twitter is because there's a lot of professionals who are in the gaming industry and in streaming who use it. So I can get in contact with artists. I can get in contact with lots of different people. Most of the people who's done art on this stream, except for maybe Darj, have been through Twitter. Through Twitter, I've contacted a lot of people who I stream with, or I've brought into the captain's table through Twitter. So that's the real purpose for it. If it becomes you have to pay $8 to communicate with people, it's like, so it's just like a bad version of LinkedIn. Just goodbye. There's no point in being there. It's never been, it's always been a dumpster fire, but it's been like a serviceable dumpster fire. God, I hate Tumblr. No, I'll just use what all whatever the tech folks go, Mastodon or whatever. Hey, Inforunners, how you doing? What's up, X? Probably X. You called him Fancy Pants. Knowing I don't wear pants when I stream. Yeah, no. So I'm not going to go into the deep depths about the Wizards of the Coast stuff, but effectively, you just take one look at what Wizards of the Coast has been doing and be like, glad that's not CIG. CIG's got problems, but holy shit, that's a problem. Spiffy Vez, no pants. Nobody streams with pants, Jin. No one streams with pants. 317.5 is an event. What event? The Red Envelope Festival is what they call it. It's Chinese New Year, aka Lunar New Year, because not just the Chinese celebrate Lunar New Year. It's the Lunar New Year is what it's supposed to be celebrating. So they've got a bunch of skins that you can buy, and then there's also going to be some freebies you get, similar to what is it called? Similar to Luminalia. They've already confirmed that. It's just 5 things that they've added for freebies. No, Linko, I haven't already read the report. I usually try to wait a little bit longer to make sure that people can come in, because if I just started reading the report right away, no one, by the time I get halfway through, most people would find out I'm actually alive. So we usually do a little bit of a roll in, and we talked a little bit about the update to ballistics to 318, which is effectively, if you think of the heartbeat system for 30Ks, where it'll save your stuff if you 30K out. It's effectively that. It's a stopgap. It's the same thing as you're not supposed to keep your purchased gear that you currently have, like your ship equipment, isn't supposed to persist. So right now it's a stopgap where you get to keep it even if you don't have it insured, because they don't have insurance in yet. But first, miniatures. I don't have any miniatures. I haven't painted anything. Like, this week has been nothing but work. So I do need to get back to it. But I will show off the last thing I worked on. I think I already showed this one off, but... It's got the little cockpit. This is, in fact, pop it off and you pop it back on. It's back on. So I do have a bunch more I have to do. I have about 40 troops to do. Working through my pile of plastic, for sure. Was that Iron Harvest? No, that's for 40K. That's the Sentinel for 40K. Not magnetized. Doesn't have to be magnetized. That's the glory of the new Sentinel. The new Sentinel is all push fit for the weapons and the accessories. Ballistic adjustments, but no pizza vendor? I know. Yeah, I've got Kasserkin to get through, which I've started, but I haven't gotten finished with the main leader yet. Then I've got 20 Astra Militarum Cadian shock troops. Then I've got a Cadian command squad I got to paint. And then I have a proxy version of the Rattling snipers. Wait, I just walked back and heard Paul say, I've got 40 troops to do. You go, girl. You know it. Got to work my way through and raise the morale. Yeah, it's the Astra Militarum, so the Imperial Guard. It's Cadians, so Cadian Regiment. Because I know people like, oh, they're bland. I'm like, they're fine. I like them. I like the background too. Morale's only raised if you're good, though. Fuck you, Omega. So that's not too bad, but it is. They are tiny models. I could probably, if I sat down and worked on them, I'd probably knock most of them out. I'll probably knock a lot of them out on Saturday, to be honest, while I'm watching the Daymar Rally. Probably most of the Kasserkin, or at least get them to a workable state. They're the ones that are more intricate and detailed. And then I've got... After that, I got to get through a bunch of terrain that I wanted to paint. At some point, I do need to sit down and do the freelancer, so that might be another special stream. I mean, you could ask me about exploration. I'll just tell you that everyone who thinks exploration is going to be Brave New World, seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man's gone before, is high. You're gonna be a map. You're gonna make maps. You're gonna go on a planet and you're gonna scan for, life forms, pretty little life forms. That's all you're gonna do. You're gonna push buttons, scan, collect data, return it back. Science may be a little different, but that's all you're doing. You're not going to find new jump points. You're not going to discover new planets. You're going to be charting spaces which haven't been updated in a while, have been updated in a while, or have never been updated. What is my purpose? You make maps. Hey, I'm not saying map making is sucks. Map making is baller. Like, I 100% expect for exploration of gameplay to be chart this whole area, and you're gonna have to do it on foot. So land your Carrack, you kind of do some exploration, you find some good spots to put down some beacons or some mappings, some probe sort of thing. So you're gonna land, and then you're gonna get in your little rover, or you get in your ranger, you're gonna drive out to the location, you're gonna plant the little beacon, and move on. You get to be true USGS ballers, is what you get to do, which is awesome. That's a great little thing. And you'll be able to explore and stretch your legs a little bit, which is, it's always fun to go sightseeing while you're doing stuff like that. I'd send you a sub, but you already are. Ah! What's the difference between an exploration and expedition ship? Exploration ship maps and charts areas. Expedition lets you go out there and stay for longer. For instance, you can explore the coast of some new continent, but an expedition, you stay there for several months or years. Yeah, 100% players will be able to find jump points, but they're going to be exceedingly rare. Like, you will not be able to make a career off of jump points. When you find a jump point, it's going to be a massive deal. You'll be able to name it. You'll be able to get money from it. It's huge. But do not count on that being your typical gameplay. What's the news on the spirit ships? Yes, we're going to talk a little bit about that. It doesn't log. You have to go report it. So when you find it, you then have to go back to a local UEE office and claim that you found it. Turn in the data for it. No, jump points don't shift. That would make no sense for jump points. There may be what they called in the past tributaries, where there may be entrances or exits which are not directly linked to the main trunk of a jump point, but we don't know what status those are. We don't know anything about that right as of right now, because CIG has not updated us on that. But I would not bet that is pure weapons grade hopium, probably just copium, to think that you can, I'm gonna find a jump point. No, you fucking aren't. And if you do, I will pay you $100. I will give you $100 as long as CIG says that you found a brand new jump point. It's not gonna happen. Clip this, keep it, make it your motivation to go find that jump point before the heat death of the universe. And if I'm still alive, I'll help you out. But that's not going to happen. And frankly, that's the kind of stuff that I would rather just kind of stamp down on with the community, is that the community will get itself whipped up into an idea of this is what I want it to happen. And then it ends up being nothing like it because it doesn't make sense in terms of gameplay. And then people lose their fucking mind. I wanted to find a jump point. Well, I'm sorry, Special Snowflake. You're not going to find one. Enjoy making a map. I always thought that the mapping jump points would be for the same route but differently exit entrances. That wouldn't make a lot of sense. Especially since CIG has decided to do jump gates. Like physical infrastructure around the gates. Entrances and exits changing doesn't make sense with jump gates. So If I had $1 every time you explain jump point, I'd own an 890 jump by now. I should just make a video on it, honestly. Like a lore video or just a regular video talking about what the plans are for jump points. Yeah, I do. I gotta go get a new one. I'm gonna finish this off and then go get a new one. And then we'll get started. We'll get started with the review, with the monthly report, because we're good there. We're almost at an hour in. What chips do I think CIG is working on and announced? Well, obviously one of them is the Argo MCV. Likely one of them is the large miner, the large RSI miner, which they've not fully announced, and they're not gonna. That would be on the announcements thing. I'm still fairly certain we'll see a Ursa ambulance version of an Ursa. I'm still a special snowflake in my dreams. You can't take that from me, Mr. Shelley. I will never dream to take away your hopes and dreams. It has to be something more involved, though, more dynamic. Streamers and YouTubers show every little new thing in game, so it's got to be more than you found X for the millionth time. Sure, the area you're going to be exploring is not going to be the same place. Like if you get a mission from, say, the ICC seller to surveyors, they're going to say, go to this area and scan this area. And then there'll likely be something like the, what is it? The not the replication layer. The probability volume, which will have something likely there, because a lot of that stuff's going to be tracked in the background from Quantum. But you're not going to be able to find a new thing every time you scan. But you also won't be scanning the same area every single time. You'll go to this part of the system, you go to another part of the system. Space is big. I don't know if you know this. Space is big. It's so big. It's so imaginably big. I don't remember the quote, but it's huge. Bigger than you could ever contemplate. And CIG Star Citizen renders like it yes, in like 1/8 or 1/6 scale in terms of distance. That's still massive. 1/5 scale? So there's going to be a lot of space to explore in Star Citizen. In fact, in the lore of Star Citizen, there are plenty of systems that have not fully been explored, even though humanity has been active in those systems for hundreds of years. And you can think of it like, well, humanity's been on the planet for, civilization has existed for, what, 5,000 years? We still don't know what the bottom of the ocean floor looks like in detail. There are still creatures that exist at the bottoms of trenches or even just the bottom of the ocean. We find new creatures all the time. Still exploring. Even though we've been on this planet for a very long time and have lots of really good technologies, doesn't mean we know everything. Same thing with space. What about vehicles? Lynx is still coming? I don't know. I'd have to double check because I remember someone mentioned Lynx is on the progress tracker, so I think it's still on there. "12,000 years of recorded human civilization. Generally speaking, people don't start the tracker for till about 3,000 BC. That's generally the 3 to 5,000. 12,000 years is more of a like. Not recorded, because I don't think the first writing didn't pop up until around 3000 BC. So it's not recorded if it's not recorded. There, Omega. This is the thing about words. We know there is civilization that exists, but we haven't had writing about those civilizations. And that's not really language. That's just art. No, let me look it up real quick. "34,000 BC. But that's debatable because that's when we see Sumerian script. I'm sorry, yeah, 34,000. 3,400. 34,000. 3,400 BC. 3,400 BC. (3,400 BC) plus 2023 is not 12K, Omega. Not even close. Is there a Star Citizen content creator that is to Star Citizen as Yamix is to Elite? I mean, Yamix, I believe he does Star Citizen too, but I don't know what Yamix does in Elite. So, did you find the arc in 318 yet? No, I did not. Oh, that's right. I forgot. Flat Earth. That's not in the academic sources I've seen, Omega. There's a debate on who has the first writing. Some people say it was the Sumerians. Some people say it was the Egyptians. Some people say it was the Chinese. Actually, oh yeah, last Thursday is the last Thursday is in Crystal. Yeah, it's a weird concept, last Thursdayism, which is basically we have no real idea what exists in this world. The world could have been created last Thursday. You don't know. Because if a powerful enough being to create a universe could invent all of the things we think that exist just out of thin cloth, thin air. That's a thought. The thought experiment. Yeah. It's wrong, but it's an interesting thought experiment. Same with Roko's Basilisk, which is entirely wrong, but interesting thought experiment. Much fuss about geologists of late, Egyptologists as well. It really has to do with how you date records and how well you can define written language. The 5-minute universe theory, yeah. Oh no, civilization is old. Civilization is very old. There are some theories that the only reason why we settled down as humans was mostly because, not because we invented agriculture, but because agriculture became simpler. We always knew how to grow plants. We had known well before civilization how plants grew and how to cultivate those sorts of things. But we just never really bothered until something happened and we decided, fuck it, let's do agriculture. The reason why that theory exists is because agriculture seems to have sprung up at the exact same time around the world, like across the planet. The Indus Valley civilization, the Olmecs, I believe is what they're called, but the kind of civilizations in the Yucatan Peninsula, the River Valley civilizations of China, Mesopotamia, Egypt, suddenly agriculture. I'm not saying it's aliens, but I hate this. That's the other thing that I haven't brought up a lot. I hate ancient aliens theories. I fucking hate it. It's just it's so offensive to our ancestors. It's so offensive to our ancestors. Oh, I'm sorry. Our ancestors weren't smart enough to put blocks on top of other blocks. Fuck you. These people were primitive people. How would they be able to do it? I don't know. Maybe they had a lot of time and effort. It's very important to them. And notice that it's only non-European civilizations that got helped out by aliens. In those ancient aliens theories. Which leads to my favorite counter to that. So that aliens hate white people. Such a shitty little theory. Just a meme, man. I know. But it keeps me up at night. I'm not going down that rabbit hole, y'all. I'm not going down that rabbit hole. I've already gone off the deep end too much on this one. I'm already going to get comments I'm already going to get people in the comments explaining to me all of the nuances of ancient alien astronaut theory and that the Earth is only 3,000 years old and all of that like bullshit in the comments. I don't need that right now. All right. So, for those of you who've never been here before, I do these things called capsules. These are small little pullouts that I'll do from the stream itself, mostly as kind of a way of doing some more content, but also as a way to try to get people to watch these content live, to let them know I do this live. It's kind of a cross-promotional thing. So I will be stepping away to get some more water, and when I come back, we're going to be doing we're going to be reading the monthly report, but I'm going to be doing it like I'm doing a video. So I'll be looking at the screen, talking about it, going through it, all that sort of thing. All right, this is the last thing I'm going to comment on this. It was aliens, so you mean you've never once got bored and started stacking stuff? My wife got a food nutrition scale for us because we're trying to cut back on food and such, and she was incredibly surprised that she was not the first person to use it. I was just weighing random shit in the in the kitchen for fun, just figuring out how it works, and just weighing random shit. And she's like, "Why are you doing this?" I'm like, "Why wouldn't you? It's a scale. I want to weigh shit now." I'm just going to be doing the PU, not the Squadron 42. Squadron 42 we'll do next week because technically it's not released to everyone. They usually release it on the Wednesday after, even though it's already out for people who were part of the newsletter. So Squadron 42 is very good, but the problem is that each monthly report takes me between 30 minutes and an hour to do. To do both of them at the same time, my voice would be dead. All right. I'll be right back. Wait, this is live? No. All right. For those of you who are watching this on YouTube, as I step away from this, the chat is going to spam audio emotes like it's no tomorrow. I can stop it, but I think it's funny. I don't tell them to do it. They just do it. This has been coming up tradition. So until I come back and sit down in this chair, mute. Or if you watch this after the fact, skip back to this point.
I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy. Everybody and his dog calls himself an outlaw.
Drugs.
Good news, everyone.
Drugs.
I'm pilot. I'm
Drugs.
fly. I'm pilot.
Drugs.
I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy. I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy. Just an old-fashioned cowboy. Everybody and his dog calls himself an outlaw.
Drugs.
I'm fly. I'm pilot.
Bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Good news, everyone.
I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy.
Cajitas wares, if you have
Good
coin.
news, everyone.
I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy.
Weapons free, y'all.
I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy.
Drugs. Drugs.
Bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Everybody and his dog calls
Hunting is a
himself an outlaw.
complicated profession.
You have coin.
Everybody and his dog calls himself an outlaw. Everybody and his dog calls himself an outlaw.
Hello. I like money.
I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy.
It was at this moment.
I have turned them all off. Is it not gonna give me alert? Yes, traditions in chat there, Certified Gumbo. Thank you for that additional $5 there, Mr. Hyde Monster. It'll probably come up here in a moment. There you go.
Hey, a tip.
Mr. Hyde, super chatted $5. Let's hear it for Paul and his team, guys. Let's get this show on the road. Popcorn in hand and ready. Paul, take it away.
Thank you so much for that $5. Okay. So. Oop, hit the wrong button. Let's do this properly. Like I said, going to be paying attention to this, not paying attention to the chat. So if you have a comment or a question that you want to ask me, wait until after I'm finished reading through this. And if you see someone come in and comment, be like, wait, what is he talking about? Try to chat. Please try to help him out if you can. And then you'll ask it again. So. Would you like us to fill chat with ancient aliens theories during capsules? I mean, some people do read the chat and think that's fucking hilarious. This is what they'll do. All right. Hello and welcome to another Office Hours capsule. That's right, capsule. This is a little segment of my Office Hours live stream where I talk about specific parts of Star Citizen news, usually maybe some of my thoughts, often an update. And this specific one is going to be for the November-December 2022 monthly report for Star Citizen. Now, I also will do one for Squadron 42, but that happens separately because, as you can see probably by the length of this video, these monthly reports are pretty beefy, especially this one, because it's covering 2 months. And it just takes too long. So, and my voice will die if I try to do that. So if you do enjoy these, do let me know in the comments below if you enjoy these monthly report reads. This is me going through the entirety of the monthly report. I will read verbatim everything they say. Sometimes I screw up every now and then, and I will interject my own thoughts and kind of try to piece together what some of these previous monthly reports kind of tie into this one. So if I say something like, oh, yeah, they finished this, they've been working on it for this month, that's what I mean. But as always, if you're enjoying this, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe for more information. We've got chat here live with us. Chat's going to tell you it's all pre-recorded because they're trolls. But we have chat here live with us. And yeah, join us for this live Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for these monthly reports, as well as other topics and discussions and AMAs and such. So without any further ado, let's get started on the Star Citizen monthly report for November-December 2022. All right, so as typical, CIG will do the last 2 months of the year as one big monthly report for January, mostly because November is a pretty busy month for them. Both November and December are a pretty busy month for them, so they don't really have a lot of time. Plus, people go on vacation and such. So this is a pretty big one. Starting off with AI features. AI features entered the year supporting investigating and fixing bugs for Alpha 3.18. Short and sweet. AI tech. During the last months of 2022, The AI tech team progressed with features required for both the Persistent Universe and Squadron 42. So this is, I've already read the Squadron 42 one as well, so I know that this is actually copied in the Squadron 42 monthly report as well. Verbatim. The team continued to iterate on more complex navigation links to extend the capabilities of NPCs and where they're able to move, including implementing adapters for airlocks and elevators. No NPCs will get to fall through elevators like the rest of us. Now NPCs will know what that... Okay. Now NPCs will know that in order to traverse an airlock, they'll need to interact with multiple consoles to adjust the pressure and open the door. For elevators, navigation links were created to connect multiple floors. A navigation link was also created to request a reconnection with the navigation mesh triangles each time an elevator stops at a floor to allow NPCs to transition in and out. Based on navigation link connections, an NPC will now know how to request an elevator to go to a specific floor. New event notifications were also added, sent by the elevator when it arrives at the floor, so that the actor will know to get on or off. This is new. They've been focusing mostly on combat AI in terms of the tech stuff. This is one of the first pushes towards non-combat functions for this same technology, which was started about this time last year. They kind of threw away the old code and rewritten entirely. This is this new technology that we saw parts of at CitizenCon last year. At the end of the year, base functionality for NPCs driving ground vehicles was completed. NPCs can now move to a vehicle and get into the driver's seat, find a path suitable for the size of the vehicle, and drive along it. This work involved the creation of a new subsumption task, a new movement request type, and updating the movement planner to know how to process the request. The team also added new functionality to the navigation systems that marks entities to be ignored during navigation mesh generation. NPC perception was another major topic worked on towards the end of the year. The team implemented a new adapter for action areas to specify lightness/darkness, which will influence NPCs' visual perception. A new extender to propagate engine sounds as stimuli was also created, which will make NPCs aware of vehicles in their proximity. This is the first step towards behaviors that react to ground vehicles and spaceships. While working on perception improvements, the devs fixed AI visual perception through glass. Now NPCs will be able to detect targets behind glass and also understand that, in order to shoot at them, they need to move to the other side. For locomotion, improvements continued on the sharp turn assets and how they're triggered for alien characters or at walking speeds. Related to this, work began on following tech, which will be used in connection with the AI buddy behavior. For this, the team improved stops, collision avoidance with players, and speed handling based on the leader's change in speed. So for those of you who don't know, the AI buddy system is effectively you can tell an AI follow me and they will follow you. It's groundwork for escort missions, though I'm assuming it's also for Squadron 42, so you can do things like, hey, squad, follow me to this objective. So, or they're supposed to follow you because of a mission. For the Apollo subsumption tool, which I think we've been mentioned a couple times before, but I don't know exactly what the Apollo subsumption tool is. Again, though, CIG, great naming conventions. New functionality was added to create and modify the subsumption master graph. A lot of feedback from designers was implemented, including the addition of an interface to create roles and sub-roles, find reference functionality, improved interaction with functions and the multigraph tab, and improvements to grid snapping. I believe this is the tool that lets them set how AI is supposed to work. So, all right, animation. The end of 2022 saw facial animation supporting various trailers and other needs. They also shot motion capture for some background character animations that will be used in the PU. Have we seen any trailers recently that require facial animations? I don't think we have. So this must be stuff for further down the line. Also, more motion capture, so it looks like we're going to get some more background stuff, which is nice. One of the things they seem to be experimenting with is AIs talking with each other, NPCs having conversations. Right now, it's just the background noise rather than actual AIs talking with one another. They kind of give you some ambiance, but I think that's what they're moving towards at least. Art characters. At the end of 2022, character art finished tasks for the Frontier workwear outfits and Frontier undersuits. They also fixed various bugs related to clipping. Character concept art polished concept handoffs for the Frontier outfits and continued with concept exploration on Fauna and the Duster faction. So Duster faction is something we haven't heard before. Now there is a Duster gang that exists, the Dusters, who we last saw in Stanton. So we may be seeing the Dusters be more fleshed out in Star Citizen, which would be kind of cool. And of course, Fauna, mentioned before, we know that the stone bug is one of those ones. So, all right. Art ships. In the US, the ship team made finishing touches on the Drake Corsair. Once complete, they moved onto the white box stages of 2 new vehicles. For one, they brainstormed several options for entering and exiting. White box began on a new production vehicle 2. Now, this is a little complicated. They say White Box began on a new production vehicle 2. Now, White Box production began on a new vehicle, or is this White Box began on a new production vehicle, meaning a new vehicle that is designed for production? Because we have heard leaks in the past of the Argo MCV, or the mobile construction vehicle, which had heavy references to production and factory. So, all right. They began work on the Crusader Spirit, which is progressing through White Box phase. So the Crusader Spirit is now in White Box. The biggest challenge has been ensuring that the escape raft on the VIP variant is fully functional at this early stage, so we can avoid extra work in the future. Ship team. Escape raft is something I don't believe was in the original drafts. It may have been, but... So, there we go. Spirit is currently in White Box production. White Box is the very beginning of the production phase, but considering the speed of the team, I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up at the end of this year. So, we'll see. The bulk of White Box work was also completed for an unannounced vehicle. The team's development began on an all-new small ship as well. So we have 2 vehicles, 1 vehicle and 1 small ship, and then 2 new vehicles, 1 which may have to do with production vehicle, and 1 they brainstormed several options. This could be anywhere between 2 and 3, and then 2 vehicles, one's a small ship for the UK team. So my guess is 2, so 4 unannounced vehicles which are currently being worked on in White Box phase. I'll also skip this. The UK team completed their pass on the salvage feature, ensuring all major visual and gameplay issues were resolved for ship exteriors. So that's pretty big for, remember, this was November, December of last year. So. Community team started in November with a cargo refactor AMA, which included details on the new soft death mechanics. They then supported the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo, IAE 2952, including publishing the Best in Show prizes, an in-depth IAE Traveler's Guide, the free fly schedule, updates to the new player guide, and a dedicated IAE 2952 FAQ. They also launched a Drake-themed screenshot contest where players faced a unique challenge each day of the expo. Following their reveals at IAE, the team curated and published QA posts for the Drake Cutter and the Anvil CO8R Pisces and the RSI Galaxy. In the approach to the holidays, community released the Luminalia calendar, the Luminalia 2952 referral bonus. They also supported Luminalia's screenshot contest, Luminalia holiday card contest, and holiday mayhem at Jumptown. In support of some of the Alpha 3.18's lesser publicized features, the community published 3 patch watch posts detailing balance keys, continued lawlessness, and the latest iteration of Jumptown. The team also spent time working on a few new web-based programs and further improvements coming to the guide system, community hub, and Spectrum. Very cool. Again, I'm going to hijack a little bit of this and say, CIG, please put YouTube streams on the hub or put the Twitch streams further down. Because right now it seems like you're just pushing Twitch streams, which I get, but it means you're not giving any credence, really, or not much credence to the YouTube content creators who make a lot of content. Now you're talking about myself, I'm talking about the vast majority of content is for Star Citizen goes mostly unrecognized by CIG. So, all right. Woo! This is the engine portion. For those of you who have not experienced the engine portion before, I will make this statement. I am not a follower of the machine god. I do not know the Omnissiah's wishes. I am not a Starfleet engineer. I cannot turn rocks into replicators. I am not a Covenant engineer. I cannot disassemble and reassemble an electric vehicle by rote memory. I am but a humble teacher of history who has barely any idea of what these words are in this engine section. I will still read it. I will do my best to interpret it. But if you are yourself an engineer or have knowledge of the canticles of the machine spirit, please do, down below in the comments, say what the heck does this even mean? If it's all good or if it's just, generic stuff. With that being said, let's go through. Engine. November and December were busy months for the physics team. Aside from plenty of bug fixes and supporting Alpha 3.18, they worked on various optimizations. For example, the cost of performing part OBB versus grid cell overlap checks was amortized? Amortized? I don't even know what that word is. By performing them in one call for a grid node instead of cell by cell. Also, sub-stepping for attached and AI-controlled NPCs on the server was disabled to bring back actor entity step performance. Several internal data structures were compacted and reordered for a smaller memory footprint and better member alignment. On the renderer, the team enabled the Gen 12 pipeline and scene rendering by default. This will be featured in Alpha 3.18. Which is a major milestone on the road towards completing Gen 12 transition and providing a Vulkan backend following October's work on particles. Further substantial progress was made. Gen 12 refraction and half resolution rendering support for GPU particles was added. The particle stage and GPU handler refactored, and the particle shader background compilation was enabled. Furthermore, particles split for each hierarchy level are now updated in a way that ensures UAV resources stay consistent across each pass and don't change. Moreover, debug visualization code for various systems was ported to Gen 12, and PSO caching for projects and particles was improved. Regarding atmosphere and volumetric clouds, an initial draft of a new temporal renderer mode was submitted and will continue to be worked on in the coming months to provide better rendering performance of ray-marched volumetric clouds and atmosphere. Furthermore, various options for refined cloud snapping was brainstormed with tech art and will hopefully find their way to release soon. So a lot of that is, first one, I guess it has to do with how the AI is rendered on servers. The second one has to do with Gen 12, and this third paragraph has to do with volumetric clouds, kind of improvements to volumetric clouds. On the core engine, the team completed work on V2 of the pack data file support for the engine, game, and tool side. On that note, the system now also provides an efficient lock mechanism for legacy pack files, as well as much faster access to files inside pack files embedded in the main P4K data file. both of which significantly improve the loading of object containers, which is important because that's what you need for server meshing. Additionally, the mapping of threads on the Intel CPUs with P/E cores was rewritten. Critical threads such as main, render, and network threads are ensured to always run on performance cores to avoid the otherwise poor performance on affected CPUs. These changes are currently being verified on the PTU. Also, support for page sizes larger than 4 kilobytes, aka huge pages, was added to the engine, at the moment on Linux only. It's currently used for stack text and data segments, as well as physics allocations. Using huge pages reduces the pressure on the TLB cache, the part of the CPU transitioning virtual to physical addresses, which should help with performance. With Clang, just moving the text segments to the huge pass gave 7% speed up. Furthermore, the latest version of Bink 2 was integrated and a few audio-related bugs fixed in video playback, manifesting themselves as random clicks during playback. Another area that progressed well was remote shader compile server used to build shader caches, etc. Due to increased usage of the server by development teams and build processes, proper support for fallback agents as well as server throttling was implemented to deal with times of extreme load and to allow for more distributed compilation. At that point, it also made sense to rewrite various parts of the server code to allow for more robustness, better logging, and increased performance. Lastly, shape unification was completed and entity area support was added. A copy-paste bug in the entity aggregate manager that caused a lot of unnecessary memory access was fixed, and viz area loading was refactored to support batch conversion from previous versions of serialized viz area data. The remainder of the time was spent supporting 3.18. That last paragraph, I have no clue what they were talking about. I recognize some of those words, shader piles, cache, viz area. That just seems more stuff I don't even know. And that last one, the pack file. I don't know what a pack file is, but whew. Features, Arena Commander. The majority of the team's end-year focus was on making final improvements to Alpha 3.18. Work continued on classic race refactor, including taking the Snake Pit, Eutropy, Euripide? Is that what it is? Euripide? Icebreaker, and Miner's Lament courses to playtestable states. This allowed features to collect feedback from several other teams. A refactor of the race manager and checkpoint system then began, with the aim to create a more robust, future-proof system that can be used by the PU teams to create races around the verse. Design also began developing additional variants of holographic checkpoints and directional arrows for each track, which will vary in style to best suit the setting. Finally, for racing, work was completed on Old Vanderval, Rickard Memorial Raceway, and Defford Link racetracks. Very cool. I don't know how to say it's not Euripide. That's wrong. It was I can't remember. I'm not going to even try it. Improvements were made on the new front end, including a new window for game mode selection, an updated style, and the restoration of single player using a rewritten lobby system that also supports multiplayer. This allows for other teams to use the new front end Arena Commander feature stream for greater feedback. Investigation then began on adding turrets to Jericho Station and dying star maps to either assist or hinder the players in Vanduul and Pirate Swarm game modes. Work was also done to speed up and ease the process of taking locations from the persistent universe and have them featured as maps in Arena Commander, which is currently being used for several upcoming racetracks. The team supported the Soft Death feature, a refactor of the Game Rules Round module began, which allows Star Marine's Last Stand mode to have multiple rounds. This refactor enabled it in all in-game modes should the design team choose. Dual mode will be the first to utilize this and will allow players to begin a new round with a restocked ship after each kill. Work was also completed on the rework system used to ban or allow vehicles and weapons in each game mode. This system provides greater customization for the developers, such as setting up a new mode that will only allow a certain vehicle. This is used in Alpha 3.18 during filtered duel mode, squadron battle, and battle royale to only allow small and medium combat ships. The first pass on the new death cameras, which point to the player that killed you while moving and zooming dynamically, was submitted and enabled for all game modes too. Finally, work was submitted for an unannounced update to Classic Arena Commander mode, which will be further detailed in coming months. I always say, don't sleep on the Arena Commander team. They have a lot of work they do to kind of update Arena Commander and then push it beyond what it originally was. So that's pretty cool. And a lot of this stuff is also going to come back in the PU with things like the race mode. So it's pretty cool. Features, characters, and weapons. Throughout November, the team added support for tractor beams snapping boxes onto cargo grids. This included a holographic preview to assist with moving loot onto a ship, which we've seen in 3.18. They also revisited the feature behind dragging an unconscious body onto a medical bed. This is being made more generic so that bodies can be placed on other appropriately sized objects. As part of this, several improvements are being made to the flow itself to make it more robust and forgiving. The team also supported the upcoming patch release with improvements to player respawn and the reconnection flow. Additional time was spent ensuring all new inventory UI features are working as expected too. The team then investigated issue logs for a bug that caused the inventory UI to load indefinitely, with multiple fixes being added to the build. On the technical animation side, additional features were added to the inverse kinematics IK system to allow for more of the mocap performance to come through. This will help when adjusting limbs via IK while doing actions such as pressing buttons or manipulating weapon attachments. These kinds of dynamic IK-driven adjustments are required to avoid enforcing very strict metrics on environments, weapons, and gadgets. Effectively, the IK system allows you to procedurally place your limbs and such. So this means that if you're reloading your weapon, it won't always be the same. It'll depend on what state you're in terms of moving. So that sort of thing. All right. Towards the end of the year, gameplay features worked on hull scraping for Alpha 3.18, including reacting to feedback threads on Spectrum and adjusting gameplay to match the goals of the first iteration of Salvage. Additionally, filler station functionality was expanded to allow players to create several usable items for hull scraping. That's the thing you can be making the tool for the Vulture in the Vulture. The team also continued with resource management, including life support and artificial gravity. This included a redesign of the previous engineering UI, last seen at CitizenCon, to give a clearer, more modern design to support the vast amount of functionalities that will be expected. Very cool. Additionally, groundwork began for vehicle tractor beams. The next steps will be creating the tractor beam UI and expanding the feature to support its proper functionalities. The mining update continued with changes made to the Argo Mole and Misk Prospector to create bigger differences between the individual and multiplayer aspects. The first rebalancing pass was done for all mining heads, sub-items, and gadgets to support the updated approach to resource distribution. This involves new variances for minables to ensure they're distributed in a more controlled fashion throughout Stanton and support more future crafting releases. Mention of crafting twice, or at least production. This is the first mention, specific crafting. There's also tractor beams, which we've known for a while that they've been working on the SRV, the Argo SRV, which is the tow truck. So that may be an indication of that. As well as life support, artificial gravity, and engineering UI. So all of these things that we've seen in the past, more continued work on all that stuff, which is good. Features mission. Mission features spent the end of the year enacting improvements and bug fixes to missions for Alpha 3.18, including issues seen on YouTube, Twitch, Reddit, and Spectrum, alongside issue council reports. Using feedback from Evocati and Wave 1 PTU, they also implemented analytics events into time trial missions and began analyzing the results to balance missions' target times. This data is also being used to determine the final unlock order for when mission progression is implemented. This analytics reviewing and balancing will continue until it's live. For Security Post Korea, the team addressed an issue with a secret item not working correctly. They also changed the way the datapad on the security chief spawned and adjusted the turrets as they were respawning too quickly. The time pass timer length was also increased. The team are currently looking into an issue with missions not generating for the Crusader mercenary scope, and are continuing to investigate other known issues they have raised. Mercenary scope. Oh, for the mercenary kind of things in Crusader. Okay. All right. So a lot of stuff that they're working on for 3.18. Stuff they've done for 3.18 and balancing for it. Vehicle features. Features vehicles. The vehicle feature team worked towards porting the transit system to Alpha 3.18's new persistent tech system. Most of the core work was completed before the holidays, though some improvements continue to be implemented. Most recently, they allowed trains to slow down and wait for transit ahead of them on the track. This should fix issues with trains overlapping. The team also implemented new setup tools for vehicles, which allow the designers to see how automated thruster algorithms use each thruster on a ship. This is used to see how certain thrusters are being used to move in a specific direction and make necessary changes to get the ships to fly how they want. Graphics and VFX programming and Planet Tech. The VFX programming team focused on finishing damage map work for hull scraping. This mostly involved bug fixing and performance improvements alongside reworking the debug options for damage maps and documenting the various amendments made for hull scraping project. Improvements were also made to visuals, networking, and serialization, and damage maps in various edge cases found during the PTU testing. Planet Tech team focused on polishing river tech and improving resource streaming performance with a new and more aggressive threading model that guarantees a stall-free experience. Additionally, maintenance was done to stabilize the Rastar tool. More recently, work began to work on Asteroid SDF to introduce support for new primitives. The team also progressed with hardware-assisted terrain instancing to improve the CPU submission time footprint. A new local space for terrain vertices representation was introduced, which will improve floating point precisions and accelerate their other internal operations. Finally, the team began looking at off-screen techniques to retrieve a localized water simulation model for water object interactions. Lighting. Throughout November and December, the lighting team completed day and night lighting passes for time trial racetracks. They also continued to improve all lighting aspects of Colonial Outposts. This involves a lot of interior and exterior work to ensure that they fit the environment and create the intended cold or cozy feeling within the buildings. After small changes were made to the Jumptown Dynamic event, a lighting pass was done on a few areas to bring them back up to current standards and ensure that the new additions fit the existing theme. Now, this is very interesting because this looks like asteroid like bases, though I'm sure this is for the time trials stuff that they've done. So, in-game branding, Montreal. The in-game branding team finished the year by completing several mandates. This included rebranding Security Post Korea into a Crusader Security Outpost, and resigning Area 18's navigational signage in support of the new player experience. Alongside the environment, narrative, and marketing teams, in-game branding developed and implemented the visual identity for last year's Drake-themed IAE event. As well as working directly on in-game locations and events, the team continued to develop a catalog with guidelines on each in-game brand. The goal of this upcoming internal tool is to make it easier for everyone, from production to marketing, to access information about Star Citizen's in-fiction companies and improve consistency across the project. I'd love to see access to it myself, but, I don't work for CIG. They ended the year working on visual identity for this year's Invictus launch week and continued the rework of Lorville. So they're already planning the Invictus launch week stuff, and they are continuing to work on Lorville. Locations EU. Throughout November and December, EU Locations 1 continued working on the rundown Pyro space station. This is most likely Ruin Station. With more designers now on the team, they made a great progress on the layout of each room and are currently exploring interesting gameplay options across the location. Those of you who don't know, Pyro with Ruin Station is supposed to be this large station that has multiple areas and they're all free fire. There is no green zone inside of them. There's only one small location that they had green zone. That's probably going to change a little bit, but the idea being that the station is huge and is constantly under conflict of other gangs trying to take it over from Xenothreat, who currently control Ruin Station. So we'll see how they implement that in game. EU Locations 2 worked alongside the US-based PU team to add new cargo elevators into existing hangars, which will be used during the updated cargo gameplay. So they're already starting to add cargo hangars into the game. Pre-production of the local law offices location began, which will be essential for several upcoming game loops, namely bounty hunting. They also worked on IAE and the new player experience, the latter of which involved improving existing landing zones for new visitors. EU Sandbox 2 wrapped up the year with further exploration and experimentation for the underground facilities. They also finished the Sand Caves visual target, worked to set the benchmark for rock caves in the PU, and began looking into improving and adding to Microtech's Forest. Some of this we've already seen in 3.18, but in general, all of this stuff is, remember, November and December. So this was all the end of last year, is what they were able to accomplish. Narrative. Towards the end of the year, Narrative Team assisted with the new Security Post Korea and Pleasure Rehabilitation mission content. They then coordinated with design on the new time trial race missions, along with mission text. Narrative introduced WildStar Racing into Star Citizen lore to create an organization responsible for arranging the races. Their backstory is that they began as a group of racing enthusiasts who would share vids of themselves racing on their favorite local tracks. Since then, they have grown into a sanctioned racing organization specializing in rally tracks and are widely recognized as an affordable proving ground for amateur racers to work towards completing in higher profile leagues. Narrative Team. So we've got at least one new amateur league racing for people, indicating that they want to build up racing as a profession where you kind of work your way through gaining reputation with various leagues and then being able to jump off to other leagues, effectively going to the big leagues if you're a good enough racer. That'd be interesting. Love to see the Star Citizen's version of bronze, silver, and gold kind of brackets that you see in most competitive gaming scenes, but for racing. For future patches, Narrative began planning new mining and salvage missions, which will help expand the career choices available through Contract Manager. Work also continued on investigation missions, with several new mysteries for players to solve being developed. Additionally, the team discussed sandbox mission content, where players will encounter missions in the universe without accepting specific contract beforehand. Now, a lot of that is discussed, planned, but this is one of the reasons why they are cutting back on lore content on the website, is because they're doing this kind of thing, which I think is viable. My only hope is that any of this reaches into the verse this year. It's hard to tell because this is all just discussion, though it is discussion, again, November, December of last year. The team also planned a reorganization of how in-game text is sorted. The internal tool developed to house all the game text strings is used by many different departments, and it's become clear that a new folder structure would help clarify where certain strings should be placed. Now that planning is complete, the hope is to roll out the reorganization in the upcoming year. Time was also spent on updating some of the detailed planetary conditions, such as temperature and atmospheric content for upcoming solar systems to more closely align with the intended gameplay and solar positioning. Very interesting for Narrative. So, and mentioning solar systems, multiple solar systems, it's obvious that CIG is pointing towards Nyx at some point soon. The end of the year also brought a variety of lore, including a portfolio about the history of IAE, a new clean shot with predictions about the Expo, a Loremaker's Community Questions, the Hazy Days short story, an award from our sponsors post featuring some Luminalia adverts, and a selection of Galactopedia posts for November and December. Finally, Narrative Team also announced that 2023 will bring changes to the website's lore release schedule. Interactables. The Interactables team continued their work on Pyro, creating a more advanced and unique assets, including stalls that can be found in the rundown station. I know they mean like market stalls, but my brain went to toilet stalls. I'm like, really, CIG? We're really focusing on that? They mean market stalls. Prototyping continued on deployables. These assets take a long time to figure out and overcome unforeseen challenges that are presented by other teams to ensure that they do not hinder gameplay. Interactables team. For those of you who don't know, deployables are deployable cover, mines, possibly turrets or sensors, those sorts of deployables, which is something that they've wanted to do since Star Marine was first announced. So it'll be interesting to see where they get to that point. Which also proves a little bit that I was pretty sure that interactables, like that deployables were being worked on like around last year, because they started the initial work on lore for it to craft it out. So we're getting to that point, which is nice. In December, fixes were made to the current in-game coffee machines. Soon, players will be able to take select cups to these machines and have infinite cups of coffee. I know people are like that. Still no pizza, though, Interactables team, huh? Still no pizza. Progress was also made on the new template for an asset that will be integral to bounty hunting, which is running alongside Environmental Arts' bounty hunting office. Maybe some sort of tracker? Finally, the team, or like cuffs or some sort of stun gun. Who knows? Finally, the team started pre-production on lootable content, including improving the current loot pool. So we're going to get more lootable content and some better loot pooling, which is nice. This looks like hoses. I don't know what this is. All right. Tech Art Animation. At the end of 2022, Tech Art completed Dirt Wear Pass for all cockpit glass to ensure the pilot's vision isn't obscured. A similar pass for turret glass is planned for a future update. Graphics team delivered mesh tagging tech that will be used in Alpha 3.18 and developed and beyond to fix various lighting issues on ship turrets, ramps, and doors. This enables the devs to tag a mesh that moves between zones to receive an interior-exterior or automatic transition lighting. This will help with most related problems. They also work alongside the ship artists and engineers to enable shader damage for hull scraping on all vehicles in the game. New ramp physics collision types were added to the Drake Corsair. One allows the tip of the ramp to ignore terrain, while a hidden wheel-only collision helps small vehicles and wheeled trolleys traverse gaps. In the ship pipeline, the team closed out the Drake Vulture, while the Corsair and Cutter receives updated debris, SDF volumes, landing systems, viz area/portal optimizations, new segmented turret viz areas and turrets, and local grid and lift and ramp tech. Team also further developed the Misk Hull Seas interior walkway animation, which syncs with the exterior hull transform animation. The final walkway will be skinned asset with 10 sliding rings connected by a stretchy tubing. Tech Animation spent the year's latter months focusing on head asset processing. We've been taking some long overdue actors and starting the internal processing procedure to create their likenesses. This includes creating over 78 scans per head asset and processing them to the neutral head asset. Some of these actors were scanned over 7 years ago on the main shoot for Squadron 42, so they may look quite different these days. The team take on these complex scans and break them down into individual muscle movements and apply them to the facial rig asset, ultimately including them in the gene pool to give more variety to the heads and faces seen in game. All right, we're almost done. Online Services Montreal. The Online Services team began the majority of November and December on Alpha 3.18 stabilization, performance improvements, and bug fixing. Time was also spent with the DevOps publishing team, production tuning the new services, and new graph database used by persistent entity streaming. Significant effort was also spent tracking down edge cases in the new character repair that will replace the current character reset, with an emphasis on finding possible exploits and potential failure points in the process. Live Tools Montreal. The Live Tools team focused on developing features related to persistent entity streaming, including the new login flow module implemented into the Network Operator Center. Now users can manage entitlements directly through Hex, which is a major step forward. Another tool related to persistent entity streaming is the Entity Graph tool, which is further developed and implemented. This module offers the ability to search and visualize the various entities attached to a player or in an account and associated details. These new modules provide more versatility to Hex and contribute to making it a powerful tool for investigations and issues solving. Turbulent Web Platform. The end of 2022 saw Turbulent adding to the Alexandria tool library with a new module called Grid. The Grid tool gives content creators Is it for me? No, it's not for me. Another way to present information, and was first used in the Luminalia calendar. Yeah, it's for them to make stuff for their own content. The team also progressed well with the SSV project, which provides the ability to adjust the color palette of any themes. This tremendously complex project saw the dev and design teams come together in the most creative ways. Turbulent Web Platform team. They also continued to add the manufacturing library, this time Origin Jumpworks. Turbulent's experienced team focused on reworking the initial user flow from selecting a starter package to downloading and entering the game. December saw them start development after many months of design iteration and technical decision making. So they're starting to rework the new player experience, the new player experience, the website experience, which hopefully we get to see. The community team continued to polish the community hub with a majority of the new features set to be released in early 2023, including better connection to large events and player-generated content. Still no lore options though there, Turbulent. Finally for Turbulent, the architecture team put numerous hours into the PHP 8 upgrade. After 6 months in the making, it hit the production environment and was warmly welcomed by the wider development team. All right. Last but not least, we have VFX. Through November and December, the VFX team worked through tasks for Alpha 3.18. This included putting these finishing touches to new vehicles and lots of task pool and snag list fixes and tweaks. They also continued to support salvage effects, making adjustments after seeing some inconsistencies in backer footage of PTU Wave 1. VFX also began to plan the overwhelming but necessary restructuring of their generic effects libraries. These libraries contain the most commonly used effects, including smoke, steam, and sparks, and have been too bloated over the years. In the months ahead, the team will be reducing the number of individual effects living in the libraries while making visual improvements as they go along. So, that is the monthly report. Over 40 minutes of that. Just to kind of summarize some of this, VFX team is going to go through and rework a lot of the visuals. We see some new stuff being added for the web platform, including an update to the find out what Star Citizen is to buying and downloading the game. We have tools that were related specifically to PES for like login tools and such from Montreal, then online services, more stuff dealing with PES. We've got tech animation. They're finally catching up with a lot of the heads to kind of diversify the gene pool for various AI that will be spawned in the game, as well as other kind of updates to various ships, mostly for 3.18. Interactables, they started working, they continued to prototype the deployables. They're also working on new stuff for bounty hunting and a overhaul of the lootable content. Another cool thing. Narrative is focusing on mining and salvage missions through the contract manager, investigation missions, and non-contract missions. Random side missions, effectively. As well as a bunch of other stuff for sorting out game text tools and able to detail some of the planets and such. Locations, they worked on the underground facilities, they worked on the IAE, they worked on cargo elevators, and the Pyro Ruin Station. In-game branding, worked on a bunch of the in-game branding stuff and developed a new kind of catalog for guidelines on how to do various updates. Lighting worked on Jumptown and the Colonial Outposts and the Time Trial locations. The graphics and VFX team did River Tech, some asteroid SDF stuff, water simulation, a bunch of stuff for hull scraping, as well as to improve floating point precisions. We have vehicle features, including thruster algorithms and PES stuff. Features, they improved security point Korea, a bunch of feedback stuff from that. Gameplay worked on hull scraping, resource management, life support, artificial gravity, vehicle tractor beams, and mining, updates to the mole. So, that sort of thing. Features and characters. Improved respawn, allowed generalize the picking up character, or picking up from medical beds. Improved for 318 stuff. Features, Arena Commander did a lot of things. Huge kind of overhaul of Arena Commander stuff. The engine, a lot of stuff dealing with PES, Immunity, a bunch of things we've been seeing. 4 new in-production white box ships from US and UK ship teams, including, on top of that, the Crusader Spirit, which is being currently in white box, and the emphasis on the E1 with its VIP escape raft. Then we had character work on the Duster faction, as well as fauna work and frontier workwear and undersuits. Facial animations, did some more mocap stuff. AI tech team allows for NPCs to drive vehicles on the ground, perception to be affected by engines and other noises, improves sharp turns, and allowed NPCs to use airlocks and elevators. And of course, AI features did investigating bugs. So, a lot of information. This is a lot of stuff that came out in this monthly report. Some good stuff. A lot of stuff is just supported 318, obviously, but there's some interesting things that are coming down the pipeline. Now, I do want to hear your thoughts on all of this down below. And as always, I do want to hear did you find this helpful? Do you enjoy this? I'm only doing this because people asked me to do it, so I'm continuing to do it. There's nothing wrong with summaries in this case, but I feel that with reading the whole thing, we don't lose a lot of the context. So this will help you fully understand what was written in the monthly report, rather than just me cherry picking out what I think is important. Because it doesn't matter what I think is important. What matters is what you think is important. Because I may be missing things that are super important, and those are what I want to hear your thoughts on in the comments down below. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black. Over 50 minutes, almost an hour. Sorry about that, y'all. Thank you for watching. So yeah, I didn't see any of your thoughts, live here, so I have to go through some of this. So if you have questions, no poop news, no poop stuff. The whole sea stuff, yeah. This monthly report seemed a bit underwhelming with 318 looming. I disagree. There's a lot of stuff in there which are pretty important. It's just not stuff that a lot of people will say is important. For instance, the AI tech stuff, as well as the ships information, especially the Crusader being moved through. Some of the engine stuff, which is more bland but important. The Arena Commander stuff. What was the one I was going to say? Why am I blanking on it? Locations, narrative, interactables. Oh, things like the environment, the resource manager, resource stuff, and the bounty hunting stuff was pretty good. So. Question, do you think we'll get the new, when do you think we'll get the new flight model? It was mentioned in the Squadron 42 monthly report, so probably not soon. Because it's not even done in Squadron 42, but it's being worked on. Do you think the new ships will come out this year? Yes. Almost certainly, at least some of them will. Do we have a pool if we get a large ship this year? Yeah, we're going to get the large miner. Is what we'll be getting. The RSI large miner. I'm awake. Which day are you now? It's still Thursday. Richard Tyre plus Sean Tracy equals Dick Tracy. Always pursuing dead ends. Oh, that's harsh. It's harsh. They just know everyone will bitch about pineapple, no pineapples. How fast will they redo the flight model after they release it? I imagine that if they do the flight model, they'll apply it to all ships, because I don't think it's not an individual ship by ship basis, as far as I understand. It's more of how the ISCS system works. They're also adding flight control surfaces to ships, but most of those ships already have control surfaces, so it's a matter of adding the control surfaces to the IFCS system. No, the Orion is a capital miner. The large miner is the size of a Connie, or bigger, but not the size of an Orion. What's up? Anything interesting brought up yet? Lots of stuff. You missed the whole thing. No, we're not going to get the Orion this year. They never give a name to the new miner, right? They haven't done it yet, no. Don't we have a mole already? The mole is not the large ship, though. It's like a medium ship. Because technically, this is the funny thing. Technically, the Prospector is a small ship. Hey, I missed the whole thing. Can you redo it for me? Yeah, you can see it on Saturday. Flight ready ship or just a concept? This is they talked about this during CitizenCon. CitizenCon was, we're gonna do a miner. You choose the manufacturer, and they chose the RSI. So they said specifically the large miner. For atmosphere flight, this is separate from the master modes, right? Yes, it is different from master modes. The Squadron 42 stuff said specifically that it is. They're working on a system where the IFCS will determine which is better, to use thrusters or to use the inbuilt dynamics of a ship. So a ship that is designed to be more aerodynamically stable, like a Gladius or a Hornet, will not have to use as much thrusters as a ship that is like the flying brick that is the Aurora, which means that you won't use as much fuel in atmosphere. Is there any industrial RSI ships yet? Yeah, the Galaxy. It's about the closest one we have. The Galaxy's on Orion's belt. Yes, hydrate. Shit. I'll be right back, chat. Yes, you know. Luckily, the way that my computer is built, it's off the actual table. I want to get the one where it works. I've done this once before. Accident. There we go. Nice and dry. Benefit of cleaning my desk. There we go. Ah. All right. All right. Sound effects don't work? Yeah, I turned them off. You didn't spam them. Any news on EVA and movement system? Not this update. October had a little bit of it, but I believe there's some EVA stuff for Squadron 42, but yeah, that's not gonna. It's still in Squadron 42 stuff, according to Chris Roberts' letter from the chairman. Which again, it's Chris Roberts, so everything he says is optimistic. But he said that to not expect any of that stuff until around 4.0. So, yeah, if 4.0 is planned on coming at the end of this year, it's likely not going to make it until next year. So I would not anticipate any of that being able to be in the game this year. No mention on X1 bikes, and because CIG doesn't tend to discuss known quantities as unknown ships or like planned ships, they don't hide ships they're working on if it's already been sold or released. They'll tell us what's going on. Question: do you think the new rope physics will be tied to the new EVA system? No, I think it's for... I've said this for a long time. Rope physics is for Squadron 42, and it's for rope puzzles. That's it. Will we get Ender's Game Battle Room? No, but we will. There is something similar to that, which was the Sadaball Arena, which we'll probably get at some point, but probably not until next year. I hope they have AI NPC companions to go on missions with you. The best NPC companion I've ever played with was Nana from Far Cry New Dawn, who's this old lady sniper. She had me crying. Yeah, they've talked about that in the monthly report, that there's going to be a AI buddy system where for some missions they'll follow you, or you can get them to follow you. So. Yeah, Sadaball is it's an in-fiction, in-lore game that exists in Star Citizen. So, and at one point they showed off a test map of it, but they were going to wait for the new EVA system to implement before they actually worked on it. It'd be cool to have the Bethesda-style companions as well. I'm sure that's... I don't think you're going to have that good of personalities, but I'm fairly certain that's what AI crew members are for. NPC crew members. They did say in Squadron 42 report that they completed the quantum travel boost rework along with VFX work and are starting to implement it. Yes, but that's in Squadron 42, not in Star Citizen. Once it's been finished in Squadron 42 and it's ported over, it's going to take some time. So remember, that stuff was done for the ships in Squadron 42, which is like 7, compared to the 150 that exist in Star Citizen. So that was a lot of info, but how much do you think will be part of 3.19, whatever they call the next patch? Well, 3.19 is going to be the next patch. We already know that. Likely the atmosphere system. I wouldn't be surprised if we got the life support system sort of stuff in game, and some of the initial resource management stuff, maybe on planets and in like bases and such. Almost certainly outposts, like the colonial outposts, will be added to the game. The cargo elevators and cargo refactor stuff. A lot of that stuff seemed to be kind of being worked on and getting close to. More plan tech stuff, new vehicles. We may see tractor beams for vehicles in 3.19, because again, I'm not expecting that until July. So, new stuff for Arena Commander for certain, including a brand new top secret update to classic Arena Commander mode. We'll probably see the first implementation of Vulcan in 3.19. So. No way this soon? What do you mean? Probably new faces and DNA. At least some of it for sure. Wires, do you mean electric ropes? Flexible pipes? Do you mean hollow ropes? Zip ties wrists? Do you mean flat, stiff ropes? I have no idea what they're going to be using for that, though. CG, write that down. Looking forward to higher server FPS someday. We'll probably see it with 3.18 release. We'll probably see higher FPS on average. Almost certainly we'll see more race tracks as well implemented. 3.19 is not going to be a baller of a patch, but it's going to have some stuff. It'll probably have a new event, too, connected to it. They're working on Vulcan right now, Jordan. And remember, nothing is, like, completely in. We've had pieces of Gen 12 being added over the course of last year and before that. It's just 3.18 is the bulk of Gen 12 added to it. It's not even all of Gen 12 is being added with 3.18, but the majority of it that matters is going in. And they've already been working on Vulcan as well, so I would expect at least some part of Vulcan added in 3.19. Maybe not all of it, but some of it. Vulcan API. We might actually see skill-based matchmaking for Arena Commander. If they make Arena Commander good and the Arena Commander team seems to be dedicated to it, do not sleep on the Arena Commander team. Escorts, handcuffs, DNA. I'm getting excited. I'm curious if 318 will actually be taken down as per patch notes. Taken down? Patch notes said it's being taken down? Oh yeah, we'll be doing on Sunday. We'll be doing Siege of Orson. I will be doing my epic roleplay as Senator Armin Strong, which started as a giant shitpost because of a funny thing that a random player did. That is now going to be a full blown tradition. For those of you who don't know, Senator Armin Strong, he is a senator who is who tours the Siege of Orison and only does melee. Has no armor, completely in suit, runs around and beats the fuck out of the Nine Tails in melee. I'm going to salivate, Paul. Smooth gameplay in Star Citizen. Kotaku's going to freak. I mean, I wouldn't expect it to be incredibly smooth. I expect it to be slightly improved, probably to modern standards. But I don't think it's going to be perfect. There'll still be bugs and such. You just won't have low FPS as much. You'll get a standard 30 to 60 FPS everywhere you go. Can I make my AI buddy have a romantic relationship with my plushie? Nope, sadly no. Current build, kind of hard knocks if you die. It's challenging. Yeah. Every time they say escorts, I get Resident Evil 4 flashbacks. Help! Leon! Oh, God. Yeah. Yeah, some people still get a 30 FPS. I still get 30 FPS spikes. Like down below 30 FPS spikes. It did absolutely overhaul Doom 2016, but that was a full, completed implementation of the Vulkan API, not a partial initial stage of Vulkan. Again, I wouldn't expect all of the Vulkan API to be implemented, but that's not how systems work. Parts of it might be added. The Senator Armin Strong, it's Armin, A-R-M-E-N, Strong. Used an Machine Sun. Someone got the reference. The joke is running around in a suit and beating the shit out of Nine Tails with my fists, is what I'm doing. While everybody else tries to stop me from running straight at enemies and punching them to death. A smooth transition into glitches, yeah. Effectively, what I'm expecting for 319 is what we have for 318, but smoother. So less FPS dumps, more consistent frames, and higher frames in some of the places. So then, is the Reclaimer a large or capital-sized salvage ship? I believe it's classified as a capital-sized, but I'm not too sure. Because a capital size requires it to have a capital component. And I don't know if the Reclaimer has a capital component. It might. But if it has one capital component, it is considered capital. Well, the Siege of Orison isn't in 318. Siege of Orison is in 317.5. It always seems like a streaming issue once things load all good. Yeah. It's an issue of finding that sweet spot, which is the reason why it's taken a long time for Wave 1 PTU. It has a capital component, then it's a capital ship. CIG's definition of small, medium, large, and capital is completely inconsistent and makes no sense and has no basis in any kind of standards that they use. They just kind of make it up. Yeah, I guess technically it's a sub-cap ship, but it's bigger than a large ship. But if people never played that game, it's a shame because it's a really good game. I don't think so until I finally played it. So I got Nana as one of my companions, and out of 8, she was the best. Far Cry has never been a bad game. The problem that Far Cry has is that a lot of Far Cry gets this generic syndrome where each Far Cry game is only a slightly improved change to the last one. They like maybe add 1 or 2 things, but it's constantly the same stuff. The problem with Far Cry is the same problem that Assassin's Creed had when it was when Assassin's Creed Unity came out. Or it was the same game, so there was really no reason to buy it other than the changing of like the overhaul of some of the locations and maybe 1 or 2 new mechanics. Then they stopped and went back and kind of reworked the whole game with Assassin's Creed Origins, I want to say, the one that was set in Egypt, and they kind of improved the game dramatically. So if, Paul, if Vulkan makes the game smoother, does that affect the desync or AI since it's running more efficiently? Probably not, because the desync and the AI are connected to the server. The Vulkan API connects to the client, so it allows the client to run smoother. You may still have weird glitches and issues with AI and such, but you just will have weird glitches in AI at 30 FPS steady instead of 2 FPS or whatever. I heard the Carrack has modules. Is that true? So you could make it into a frontline medical ship? There's no definitive of what the modules are, but we know that those cargo sections are modules, and they may give us separate modules to replace those cargo sections with. So something like a medical bay or a refinery. We don't know yet, but they haven't implemented any of that yet. Well, I would not count on any of that actually happening. New reporting says Redfall, the new Arcane game, will be like Far Cry 2 style game. Isn't it a co-op game with single player? Origins was in Greece. Okay, what was the one before? It wasn't Brotherhood. It was something like that though. I have to look it up. No, Odyssey was in Greece. Origins was in Egypt. I was right, yeah. Origins is in Egypt. Redfall sounds a lot more like Dead by Daylight, but co-op. Is that right? Dead by Daylight? The zombie open world one where you like parkour, run around and stab things. Ah, yes, 50 Fish versus 50 in Star Citizen is always glorious. I'm glad that Burks and Smush had a chance to do that. Dying Light, thank you. Dying Light. Yeah, but it wasn't ancient Egypt. Yeah, it was Roman Egypt. It's technically set after Odyssey, because Odyssey is set before that time period. But do you think the Orion could have some addition features like hangar or landing pad? The Orion? Maybe. I mean, we have to wait until they kind of get to the Orion, but it's going to be a while. Probably post 4.0 before they get to the Orion. I can't remember what New Dawn was, but I remember playing a couple of Far Cry games in the past, so that just hasn't been my thing for a while. No, but Odyssey technically takes place earlier in the timeline than Origins. Origins takes place during the Roman Egypt, during the Ptolemies, so which is after the events of Odyssey. Odyssey was good. I didn't play Origins, but I heard pretty good things about it, so then I picked up Odyssey and it was pretty good. It's a lot of a lot of what makes Assassin's Creed good with a very big open universe compared to the kind of more restricted zones of previous older ACs. Though I haven't played Valhalla, heard that was pretty good. There's a new one, right? That's come out. Hey Mason, how you doing? Mirage. When's that taking place? Supposed to play more like AC 1 and 2. Oh, so actually game will follow Basim ibn Ishaq, who was introduced in Valhalla. Okay. He's transitioned from Street Thief to full-fledged Mentor of the Assassin. So it's kind of a preview. It's like a side story / prequel to the Valhalla series. Okay. To Valhalla. Okay. The Ptolemies, what Alabama wishes they were. Yeah. Sorry, man, I didn't mean to derail your live with my question. It's all right. Comment felt like trash. Okay. Yeah, speaking of which, I heard the latest news on Beyond Good and Evil 2, which sadly is still in early production because open world seamless transition space games is hard, y'all. It's a hard game to make, especially to the scale that they wanted to do with Beyond Good and Evil. It's Beyond Good and Evil 2. That's a huge scale. As I constantly say, Star Citizen is not the model that any game company will ever make. There will probably be no game like Star Citizen because no company would be sane enough to make a game like Star Citizen. The scale, the size, the sheer amount of research and development that it requires for this game would never be even started by another game developer because it's just not profitable. You can't make $500 million in a month with a game like Star Citizen, despite the insane amount of money that people think Star Citizen makes. Beyond Good and Evil 2 is now the longest game in development. Say that to Starfield, which proudly claims it's been 25 years in the making. And sadly, and probably honestly, I would expect Beyond Good and Evil 2 to be canceled before Squadron 42 comes out. There's no need to mimic what Star Citizen does. You could easily do something like Squadron 42 with a smaller budget, with more focused and interesting kind of stuff, rather than focusing on the cinematic aspects, making it be more gameplay cinematic, rather than like playing a movie or more experiencing a movie. No company wants to take a scale until something like GPT can do a good portion of the work. We're a long way from that. AI is dumb. It is very stupid. And the problem is that it's also legally dubious. Because AI cannot create anything. Legally cannot create anything that's copyrightable. So if a company can't copyright or protect its code, then anyone else can use it, and there's not a fucking game company that's going to let another company use its, or like not own its game that it's being made. So. Well, from announcement, it is. I hope it isn't canceled. I hope it's not either, but it's been a long time since that thing was announced, and Ubisoft has gone through some shit. Like, they're going through layoffs right now, as far as I can tell. So, that game's going to be Duke Nukem forever. Not a chance Starfield won't be good. Oh, there's a heavy chance that Starfield won't be good. There's no chance it won't be okay. There's no chance it won't be aight. It's a Microsoft game that has a lot of pressure put on it, and also a Bethesda game, which they don't make terrible games. I would say 76 was an exception to the rule, simply because 76 was something they'd never done before. But even then, it's not a bad game now. It just wasn't, and I don't think it was a bad game then, it just wasn't a great game. It wasn't as good as even Fallout 4. But there's plenty of people who play Fallout 76 today. I still think you could make a Fallout game that's co-op. That's a far better option to make a co-op Fallout game, open world Fallout game, than it is to do kind of PvP multiplayer. I expect it to be a pretty decently thought out story that is heavily reliant on procedural tools to create content with a short-ish story. I expect the story of Starfield to last about 5 to 6 hours, the actual campaign, and then to have anywhere between 30 and 100 hours of side content for them, because they want to slap that shit on the box, on the marketing material. And the story will be, it'll be okay. Maybe some of the faction quests will be interesting, but I really hate the whole Bethesda, you can be the leader of the pirate faction and a general in the United Colonies, and a ranger in the Freestar Alliance. Like, none of these people like each other. This makes no fucking sense. But what? I'm serious, Scott. Like, I am looking forward to Starfield, but I'm setting my expectations low in case Bethesda actually manages to pull it out. Main campaign is 30 plus hours. We'll see. We'll see. Because that could also be fluffed up with another settlement here needs your help. We'll mark it on your map. Those kind of missions, which are forced blockage rather than progression. With Ubisoft dropping titles and layoffs probably first, do you see any other developers struggling forward? Second, do you see that opportunity for CIG to gain talent? Yes, CIG's already trying to poach it. My Twitter feed is filled with CIG employees being like, "Hey, it sucks that you got kicked out of 343. Come join CIG." Chris Roberts is going to be the one game developer to rule them all by the frickin' time Squad 42 comes out. I think Starfield would be a fantastic sandbox game with a deep lore and interesting characters. I am hesitant to believe anything that they say about length, other than there will be hundreds of hours of content that may or may not be linked to the main mission. Wait, one GL to rule them all? Not that one. I mean, CIG is still hiring like 100 people. They still got openings for 100 different people all over the world. And that's not counting Turbulence job offerings. So we're probably looking at like 100 to 200 employees, possible employees. And with like 343, Bethesda, Ubisoft, I'm sure EA, like through the entire game industry laying off employees, CIG is going to be one of the few companies that's hiring people. CIG's growth doesn't seem sustainable. Dirk, I thought the same damn thing 5 years ago. They still grow, and they've been making record funds. I don't know what's going on. We might see the cash train, the glory train roll to come to a stop. I don't see any of that evidence, though. We'd have to see what January is like in terms of funding in the next couple of weeks. I assume with all of the like slowdowns with 318 and such, I expect it probably to be lower than it normally would be. But I've been wrong before. Yeah, Scott, I just don't. Fallout 4 sucks. It's like the universe isn't bad, the characters aren't terrible, but the storyline's garbage. It's the faction conflict is a little bit better than Skyrim's was, but it's still bad. And I have hope that Starfield is better, but I'm not banking on it. What kills me is that people don't realize that how long it takes games to make. 7 years to make a good game, 2 years to make it AAA, 1 year to until we have to hear about it. Altogether, 10 years. Generally speaking, the average game cycle since 2010 seems to be about 10 to 15 years. Minimum 7 years to produce, which was a dramatic increase compared to the early 2000s, the fourth generation consoles, the 360 and the Xbox PS4. That generation was 4 years to make a console. Now to make the same kind of level of gameplay, it's almost double that. Minimum double that. And most games are taking 10, 15 years to develop. So I'm just on that like with I cover Starfield lore. I want to cover more Starfield. I just need more information. And I'm definitely going to be doing more. I'll be playing Starfield Live and a bunch of other stuff like that. But lots of people got excited by Bedman's vids, so I think their January returns will be good. Let's take a look right now at Star Citizens, because if you go to the CCU game, they have a All right. So far, okay. So far, we have so in 2020 we had $5 million for January, which was the best month year to date. 2021 we actually had a worse month. We only had $4 million. 2022 we had $7 million. Right now we're at $5 million. So it's about the same as 2020, and we're not quite done yet. So almost certainly we will be above this current level where we are currently. So sure, it's just called the CCU game. There you go. It's a playstyle thing with Bethesda, not known for their campaigns, and people like me still play Skyrim a decade and 1,000 hours later. If the universe is interesting and you have interesting interactions, I'm okay with that. But when they put so much emphasis on their campaigns as like the main storytelling rather than just making a interesting sandbox that you can explore and interact with and infect, it cheapens the game overall. Yeah, the CIG seems to be on track to at least match records. They may not reach the 2022 goals for the month, but like for instance, several months in 2022 were not the record-breaking months of previous years. Like I think August was more. September was about the same as previous years. In fact, the December patch, there was actually less money in 2022 than there was in December than there was in 2021. 2021 they made 10 million, and 2022 they only made 8 million. So they had smaller December, but their November was 2 million higher. So that's kind of evened it out. Have a good night, there, Outlaw. Idris versus Halo UNSC Forward Unto Dawn. Who wins the battle? Who wins the coolness? They're about the same kind of shit. Question. CIG could be able to build the next Star Wars open world. They could, but they won't have time to. Some small ships possibly delivered this year. Imagine they'll have a new record. We'll see. I don't think there's really not a lot of tech that's blocking them for this year other than server meshing, but server meshing seems to be very specifically stuff that they're waiting for Squadron 42 stuff to be added and for scaling. So there's really not a lot of tech that's specifically blocked behind server meshing. They just don't want to introduce things that will, like scaling up NPCs and AI like around players until they have server meshing functioning. So they're really once 318 comes out, it really is up in the air what CIG does. Right now, we know what they've been working on, but that may change starting this month. Inflation and recession to take into consideration. Sure, there's definitely inflation, but inflation's already starting to decrease, and recession is, debatable in terms of its effect on CIG. The pandemic, a lot of people worried that there would be less money flowing around for the pandemic, so people would have less money to buy ships and such. That didn't happen. CIG made record profits during the pandemic. And then when the pandemic was over with, because people were like, oh, well, they're not over with, but when people started to go back to work and start having less, it was like, okay, cool. So that money's going to slow down. And it didn't. It sped up over the next 2 years. So, and I have seen portents of doom before. I've seen people say that this is it. CIG cannot break any more records. It's gonna fail. And the answer is no. There's only one time CIG made less money than they made the year before, and that was 2017. And then after that, they went right back up. So basically, I have seen people portend the end of CIG, of saying that CIG cannot keep this pace up many times before. And every single time someone has said that, they were wrong. So I do not trust anyone's portents of doom. That's all I'm going to say. The other thing to remember is I think the majority of money that CIG will get going forward this year is from new backers, not from old backers. So the whales, for instance, probably won't be as active because I don't think they've been as active for the last 3 years. But they'll get new people coming in from different markets who haven't heard of Star Citizen. And towards the end of the year, of course, if 4.0 is actually on the horizon, we'll see. Exactly. There will be years in the future where they make less money, but they keep on keeping on. I don't know if this, I don't know if CIG is going to make the same amount of money this year as they did last year. I doubt it, but I don't think it'll be devastating to CIG. And especially right now, it doesn't seem like CIG is slowing down, so. Yeah, because the nuts thing is I'm looking at this right now is the dollar per citizen spent, according to the CCU game, is a little bit over $100, about $124, which is about the per citizen as the average. So that's about the cost of like a special edition of a video game. So it's still higher than 60, though 70 I guess is the new standard, but it's not that much in comparison. Especially since no game actually costs $70. It costs $70 plus the DLC, plus the optional cosmetics, plus the battle pass. It's $150 is your typical game these days anyways, so. At 108 million backers, not citizens, the average pledge is right at $300. Okay. I'm just based off of the CCU game's current thing. If you see up here to the Way up here, very top. We're pretty sure that 188 or 1.8 million backers is the total number, not the number of backers that were signed up this year, right? We'd have to get confirmation on that, but because it was hard to tell. Based off the writing, it seemed to imply there was 101.8 million backers this year. It's like, nah, it doesn't seem right. That number seems way high. World of Warcraft DLC is $60 each year, plus $150 for the subscription. So it's a little high. $300 is a little high for a game. Though I do wonder, does that also count people who only have Squadron 42? Because I don't think they're a huge number, but I'm sure they do. There are those. All right. I'll be right back. Mute your video real quickly if you're watching this on YouTube. I'll be right back.
I'm fly. I'm pilot. Weapons free, y'all.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
I'm fly. I'm pilot.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy.
Bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
I'm fly. I'm pilot.
I'm muted. Yeah, there's also the other ones. That's still 300 is pretty high. It's about double that of the typical price for a video game. Probably not nearly as bad as like most MMOs, but still pretty high. Yep, you spent your beers. But they're gone. All right. Yeah, if y'all have any questions, feel free to go through. I will say overall, my thoughts on this here is ambivalence, in the sense that I have ambivalence and I wouldn't say consternation. It's hard to say. I have no clue what's going to happen this year. I have vague guesses based off of what CIG has said, but this year is probably the most ambivalent, or the most, I guess, ambivalent on CIG's part. We have the least amount of information of what CIG is planning this year since 263. We have no clue what CIG is doing. We have 100% idea of what they're working on. We have no clue on what they're planning. I have a feeling 3.19 is going to be the cargo mining patch. I'd love to see that, but that would imply that the dynamic mission system would be complete, which we know that the dynamic mission system framework was worked on last summer, but we haven't heard anything in the progress tracker, or maybe it's in some of the progress tracker. We haven't seen anything really in the monthly reports. We haven't seen anything through, like, Tony Z hasn't said shit in a very long time. So we got to know, because like that's all Tony's stuff. The dynamic mission stuff has to do with quantum. and that whole simulation. So, does the lack of info mean that they're worried or got something up their sleeve, you think? It just means that CIG is not... Well, the thing is that in the past, CIG would tell us what they're planning around February for the rest of the year. But since they've changed their policies, we won't know what's coming for the next patch until after this patch is released. So probably a week or two after 3.18 goes live, we'll know what 3.19 is planned on having, at least initially. And then, of course, they add things as they go along. So that you usually will be pretty light early on, and then they add things as they get closer to the release. But normally, in like 2 weeks or so, we would have known what they're planning on for the end of the year, for 4.0. What features they were looking for. But now we don't. It's not necessarily bad. CIG, I don't think things have changed that much at CIG. I'm sure they have ideas of what they're planning on doing, but they just don't share it with us anymore. Because when those things changed, people lost their fucking minds. So they stopped doing that. Is it even possible for CIG to have surprises for the community? All the time. See, I mean, it was a surprise when they added the racing missions. It's just CIG shares everything that they have. So, question: do you think Starship would be flyable before 3.18? Oh, like the SpaceX Starship? Yeah, probably. I mean, isn't it already being planned on test flown in like the next couple of weeks? I'm almost certain that 3.19 will be an Arena Commander patch. Yeah, they'll add a bunch of stuff to Arena Commander as well. Though that might be 3.20 as well. Like from the port, reminding changes, Hull C being worked on, well polished. Talk of cargo hangars for existing hangars. Yeah. I got you, Cuban. You know, no deals. No worries. Paul, what do you think about swords in game? Some tech melee like Cyberpunk? Yes, I confess I'm a Jedi wannabe. So CIG has been coy about this, but if you read the Squadron 42 monthly reports, the Screaming Galsons, which is, I believe, a pirate group in Squadron 42, they all have melee weapons, or like a bunch of them do. There've also been mentions of a ballistic shield that you can use in Squad 42. So, yeah, they almost certainly can get those animations ported over to players and have them use it as well. It's just a matter of implementing it, which is just not viable right now. It's not. There's no purpose of allocating those resources. Tony Z must be a myth because everyone talks about him, but I haven't seen him since I started playing Midsummer. Yeah, you haven't. Because he hasn't really talked about anything since last CitizenCon. No, like the CitizenCon before last. Are there Warhammer suits in Squadron 42? I saw concept art. It looked awesome. You're talking about the like the baby carrier style in Warhammer? Yeah, it's called the they're called the Titan suits. That's what they're called. They're just slightly bigger than a typical soldier. Tony sees an AI construct. Yeah, the CitizenCon 2021 videos, there was a Tony Z video on that. So yeah, I know. Yeah, I knew that there was the 50 versus 50 that was going on. So glad people enjoyed it. I saw a lot of people coming in and be like, that was fucking amazing. I had to see it. So the Titan suit will be in Squadron 42, you think? 100% the Titan suit is going to be in Squadron 42. I've heard rumors about it, but those are kind of spoilers, so I don't want to like say them out loud, but almost certainly you will see the Titan suit in Squadron 42. Tony Z is vaporware. You were a body snatcher? Quantum is real. Quantum is real. Quantum is like it's weird that people say like quantum like well, we need to see quantums. Like quantum's in the game. Quantum was added with 317.2. Quantum's in the game. It's or maybe 317 straight. But it only affects a very small part of the game. It affects those combat missions, which are dynamic now, which kind of you'll see like alerts pop up and you say you go to those combat missions and it'll be different kind of intensities. It also affects fuel, repair, and quantum hydrogen fuel and repair at all stations is now dynamic based off of not only your usage but NPC usages of those stations, and you don't see those NPC usage because they're all quantum based. They're all like little points of information you don't actually see. So it's already in the game. It's just like reputation. It's just very limited. As we get close to 42, will we see much of the PTU or all hands on deck for Squadron 42? So everything that's in Squadron 42 that is being developed for Squadron 42 will eventually make its way to Star Citizen. Once it's developed in Squadron 42, there are teams that are dedicated to take those and then implement them in Star Citizen, but that will take time. Likely, I guess the minimum I would say is 6 months, probably more like a year from when they get it in their hands to when it gets put into the game. We've seen this before. The current cloud tech inside, like space clouds and that other stuff, was first implemented in spacescaping specifically, and I believe the new asteroids was all designed for Squadron 42 first, and then implemented in Star Citizen. A lot of the ships for like the Gladius and its full kind of accessible locations and like the gun rack you can pull out, all of that stuff was for Squadron, and then got added to Star Citizen. So it's about that kind of stuff gets added in, but it's going to take them time. Do you think RSI will make use of real life AI to help the game, like chatbot GPT? Nope. I don't think so. CIG seems to be hesitant to hop onto any of this stuff. They were very against the NFTs when those were fads in the gaming industry. I'd imagine most people at CIG would be hesitant to use ChatGPT because I don't see ChatGPT actually helping much in terms of their development. It'll help like amateur developers because ChatGPT doesn't actually design or build games for you, but it'll tell you how to make code that you can use to help stuff. But you're gonna have to learn how to do that yourself, your own at some point. And there's just no point in using a chatbot to try to imitate a human. Because that wouldn't really work. They're going to use the typical canned line responses that you'll hear from voice actors for various locations and various things, and that's enough. Is LTI worth the extra cost? No, nothing is worth the extra cost. There is not a single thing in Star Citizen that's worth more than $45. And that is, the thing that's worth $45 is the game package. And if you enjoy Squadron 42, buying the add-on for Squadron 42, like $60 is what you need. Nothing beyond $60 is needed nor valuable. LTI is not even that worth it. Question: what level of security would you say Stanton is using Eve as a reference? High or low sec? It's going to be high sec. It's just not right now. It's not high sec because all players exist in it. It can't be high sec because they need to allow for pirates to interact with players and like lawless people to interact with players. But by the time Pyro comes out, yeah, it would be high sec. LTI is a myth. LTI doesn't really help you at all unless you have a massive fleet. And even then, it's more of, I don't have to pay extra money on ships I'm not using. All that LTI does is allow that so that you do not have to pay your, what is it? Your premiums? I guess is what it is. Because when you get your ship, you have a certain number of months for free with that ship. But then beyond that, you'll have to pay in-game money to keep that ship insured. Otherwise, you will lose it. And now CIG said you're never going to lose a ship in game, and there's probably a lot of legal reasons for that as well. But they'll definitely make it so that you have to do something to be able to get your ship back. And they've also said that the actual cost of insurance is going to be negligible. Think like 300 credits, 1,000 credits for 6 months of insurance. It's not that expensive. So because it's not that expensive, LTI is worthless. It's 1,000. You're saving 1,000 credits every 6 months. Whoop-de-fucking-do. And on top of that, it's only base insurance. So you can pay for higher insurance, which will get you back more things like aftermarket kit if you purchase aftermarket kits, upgrades to your ships overall. So in reality, it's never going to be worth extra money. It's just more of a little like bee in your bonnet, a little rose in your top hat kind of thing. I'm giving you financial advice. I cannot give you financial advice. I'm not a CPA. Legally can't do that. All I'm saying is I would not purchase anything beyond $45 package. To literally hedge against forgetting to pay insurance. It doesn't cover any modifications you've made during the game with in-game currency yet. What's a large fleet? It's up to you. More than a couple of ships. When you have more ships than you actually will ever fly. So, for instance, if you have like an Orion or a Starfarer, unless you are planning on being nothing but a fuel hauler, you're probably not going to use your Starfarer all the time. Unless you have a massive group of friends who are all going to use your Orion, you're probably not going to use your Orion all the time. So when you have multiple ships and you're not going to use all of the ships at the same time, you still have to pay insurance on them because it'll still take down real time. So 6 months after the game releases its insurance program, all of your stuff will expire. And if you want to use it, you'll have to re-up that insurance. Good night, Certified Gumbo. Legatus is clearly the best investment. It's just not. This is not financial advice. Is there a money wipe in-game currency? Yes, there's going to be a money wipe with in-game currency between 3.17 and 3.18. So 3.18 is currently in testing. When it comes out to the live branch of the game, comes out of beta into live alpha. It will be they will erase everything in 3.17. You disagree that there's no value though? If you want a certain non-starter ship after every wipe, then it's worth it. Not having the grind the hours you get, for example, that's not really worth it though. I mean, that's a personal question about grinding hours, about getting out using hours. But for many people, the joy is playing the game. And if the smart thing to do with this game is to buy it, play it when you have fun, stop it when you don't have fun, come back when an update comes out which you're interested in. That's the sane way of playing video games. People like us are insane because we follow games like this super close. I heard they'll try to port over rewards from events. Fucking no. Look, just admit you fucked up and no stipend. Stipends are terrible because then everyone complains that they didn't get enough or they got too much. It always fucks everything up. Just no. Good night, Jay. Yeah, we're gonna probably call it a night here shortly. Now, I will not be streaming tomorrow or Saturday. Saturday is Daymar Rally. I'm going to enjoy myself, enjoy painting, and then watching Daymar Rally go live. And then on Friday, I'm going to be spending that time recording and editing the video for the Gladiator video, which is 21 minutes long. I need my voice to be functional. And I'm also going to record anywhere between 2 and 5 YouTube shorts and TikTok video stuff for the Astro Historian, which will all be dropped off for the next week or so. That's what I'm saying. For me, I don't want to start in the Aurora for my main account. I want a 300i worth the price for one meal from post dates for me. Yeah. But it's not really. I mean, you can, but that's such a personal choice. When someone says, is X worth it? The answer is always, it's super personal. But if you're saying overall, the answer is no. On the other hand, we've had so much time, years, to get our ships equipped with LTI through LTI tokens or otherwise, until the insurance would be really needed in games as released. There's almost no reason not to. There's no reason to go out of the way to get an LTI token. I also don't think there's a problem with in-game grind. I think a lot of people are worried that CIG is going to turn the grind up to 11 when the game is more completed. And I also know that people don't realize that CIG will not control how much money you make. The missions you're doing now for a fixed amount, they will never be fixed. All of the missions you are doing currently will eventually be on the dynamic mission system, which means it's entirely controlled by the quantum system. So it will be generated based off of the need of the quantum, and the price will reflect how much it's worth. So and your reputation. Some money sometimes it will be below your needs, and you won't have to take them, but there'll be other missions which will be higher needs. The reason why CIG does some lower end missions at times is mostly for testing purposes, not necessarily for balance purposes. And ships themselves will be entirely variable. You may get discounts for things like reputation. You may have discounts for things like low or higher than average stock. There's more ships in stock than there needs to be. Thus the prices go lower. If you go directly to say Magnus and buy a Cutlass from the Drake factory, it'll be cheaper than buying it in Stanton. So there'll be prices you get to pay, which are going to be lower or higher depending on where you're purchasing them. That's all going to be dynamic. So it's not like the Cutlass will forever be 1,100,000 or 1,100,000 UEC. In some cases, it might be 500,000 UEC. In some cases, it may be 3 million UEC. Depends on where you're buying it. So as a result, when people are like, oh, CIG is going to go grind, they're not going to. It's going to be up to the system that they build, and it'll be variable based off of lots of different factors. On top of that, CIG has been very careful to say they do not want this game to be a grind fest. They want to make it so that most people playing 2 to 3 hours a day over the course of, 4 hours a week will be able to take not too long for them to get even a Connie. The goal of Star Citizen is never to be ships. It's to be the experiences and the reputation, which will unlock new events and stuff like that. AstroPub Insurance Company. Neutrino package, free blood pressure measuring. And the Gladiator needs a serious weapons buff. The Gladiator needs to be tougher. Based off of the lore, the Gladiator is effectively a Hornet. And I think that's the problem, is that it's effectively a Hornet. And the Hornet is also suffering from the changes. Both those ships need to be tougher than they currently are. And the Gladiator needs to be much more flexible than it currently is. Right now, you can only attach missiles to those pylons. Those pylons should be able to carry dumbfire missiles and bombs. That makes that ship... You put bombs, like gravity bombs, on a Gladiator, people would just be using them constantly because they're small, They're agile. They're effectively fighters in many ways. But that they can drop bombs? Perfect. I'm rapidly becoming a Drake fangirl. I'm already a Drake fanboy. I have been for a long time. Magnus would be fantastic. I believe the Hornet will be a much better when armor and master modes come in, but that might be hopium. Armor will make that ship a lot better than it currently is, for sure, because it's designed for armor. Having some connection issues here. Hopefully it fixes itself. Yeah, let's just pop it back up. Some weird drop frames here and there. It'd be funny if it lets you lets you quick the MVTs, the stealth torpedoes, the I forgot what they're called. Multiple like velocity or vector, multi-vector torpedoes is what they're called. The Gladiator, I decided to put a lot more effort and time and kind of put the whole thing for the story of the Gladiator together, and that lore is dense. It is. There are at least 4 stories about the Gladiator, which are canon stories. About operations it ran. The most famous being the Virgil raid. On top of its creation and its evolution into what it's become, and also an entire squadron which has kind of made it its main hallmark, and then also the civilian releases, how it became a civilian ship as well. So for me, that's about 11 pages, a little over 10 pages. Which makes it, and each page is about, for a script, it's about 2 minutes. So it's just under 22 minutes. So it's a hell of a, compared to my typical videos, which are 10 minutes long, 8 to 10 minutes long, it's almost double that. But this game is my replacement for not being able to afford an exotic car collection. I need to buy ships in game. Yeah, buy ships in game, yeah. It feels lame to run combat beacons one night in a Mustang and I have a Gladius at the end of it. Real economy is real solution, not more expensive ships. It's the economy is not designed to be, the game's progression system is not designed to be around ships. It's designed to be around reputation. And the problem is that there is no real reputation grind right now. There's no real reputation barriers, which is key. This year, if I was to hope to see things, I would love to see more evolution of the quantum system, the reputation system, and the resource system. Those 3 things are far more important to me than server meshing. If we got an upgrade to all 3 of those things, it would be a fantastic year for Star Citizen. Like, hands down, one of the best years that Star Citizen ever had. Because those 3 things represent so much of what the future gameplay is going to be. The reputation system and the quantum system are both linked in that they manage the missions that you get to generate random missions. They manage mission givers and also what you can and can't do in the verse. Your reputation will affect who will interact with you, where you can even go. And of course, the resource system is better life support, and also for things like multi-crew gameplay, engineering, and power resources, and all that sort of management of resources on a ship. Those 3 things would add so much to Star Citizen that it would be a completely different game by the end of it. Even if they were just small iterations, like if you took the current missions that are in game and put them in a hopper, effectively, put them in a dynamic generated mission, which would give you money based off your reputation. Wow, it would be great. And then increasing your reputation where, like, if you have a negative reputation with a group, you will lose access to that group or to those resources of that group. Yes. But I don't know if that's going to happen. I have no fucking clue. You need CIG to show me a reason not to backspace. Reputation, your gear, and your long-term viability score. So is 2024 a realistic expectation for 4.0, seeing how the pattern is already set and setbacks probable? You're talking about okay, the setbacks probable. I would say it's probably a little aggressive, but it wouldn't be unreasonable. I would say Q1 2024 is probably more reasonable, but it really depends on a lot of things. Like, for instance, if 319 is released and then we get a 320, and if that 320 is pretty minor, then yeah, CIG is obviously focusing on 4.0. And I don't think they really have a huge backlog. Like 319 probably adds a bunch of hardening stuff. We might actually see the death of 30k with 319, but it's hard to tell. We just gotta see what they're gonna add to 319. Like I believe that's the replication layer. Once they added the replication layer beyond just the server you're on and kind of overall, that allowed so that if you crash on a server, when you get back into the game remembers where you were and puts you back where you were, regardless if you were in that server or not. Right now, we can be Tom Paris or Worf. Resource gameplay will let us be Scotty. Exactly. How about our hangars? When do you think we'll be able to see the ability to store cargo? 319. Almost certainly 319 will see cargo storing in hangars. But I don't think... I have no idea what those hangars are going to look like. Like, I think the most probable thing we'll see is you will land on a hangar, then when you land on the hangar and those doors close, that becomes an instance iteration of your hangar. It becomes your personal hangar on that station or in that landing zone. People can still access it though, so I don't know how that is. But then you can store cargo and everything else in that hangar. And even though you're still in that hangar, if someone requests landing, someone can still fly into the same location where you had landed. But when those doors open for them, there's nothing there. You're in an instance that's completely separate from reality. So hangar 10 could be 100 hangar 10s, 1,000 hangar 10s, depending on how many ships there are in that area. But each hangar 10 is its own unique hangar 10 with its own contents inside of it. I think that's the cheapest, easiest way they go about this. I don't know if it's what they're going to do, because Chris Roberts is a madman, but in terms of like personalized hangars, like we saw with the old hangar module, not this year. Something Mike talks about the economy a lot, and I think he's got a point that we didn't have much info about what money's for besides ships, really. He's right. But the thing is that there's no real need for money beyond ships. Food, resources, fuel, repair, armor, cosmetics, all of those things need to matter in the game. Which is why when people go, I don't want to have hygiene in the game, or I don't want to have to wear clothing in the game, CIG is going to say, fuck you, go buy some civvies. Oh, you want to go deal with the high-class Hurstons? And you want to walk in looking like a scrub off of the streets of Lorville? Fuck you. No, go buy a nice suit and come back. Like, that kind of thing. There will be those levels, because CIG wants immersion, and they also want to force you to buy shit you don't need to for min-maxing. Fuck the Hurstons. We'll let Al hear you say that, Cupan. But the same thing's going to happen. You want to go to a fancy ball for, at Microtech for a mission giver or something like that. You're going to have to buy a dress or a suit or whatever. I hopium that once we get the rest of 318, PES PS Rassle, we might see greater amount of content coming out this year. I hope too. I think that's my hope as well. But we really have to wait and see what 319 looks like when it's fully released, when it releases, or fully releases, and like what 319 is going to come with it. Captain Shiny Pants, yeah. How would a group go to your ship in your hangar, though? You would all get onto the elevator, and you would press your button for the hangar. So the thing about that concept is that it requires permissions. I could see that if they had permissions, where you could have permissions where if anyone's in your party, they could have access to your ship. They know where your ship is, or access to your instance inside that ship, because they're in your party. But we'll have to see that. Because right now 318 is not giving me good vibes to the point I won't touch it until it's live. 318 is, and will consistently be, even when it's live, a clusterfuck. It is a fundamental change in the technology of how Star Citizen works. It's effectively 317, but with all new stuff under the hood. It's like you took a, 2012 Mazda, or I guess 2015, Mazda, or a Toyota Corolla. And then you ripped everything out of that Toyota Corolla and put in everything, all of the equipment for 2022 Corolla inside the same frame. It's the same car, but it has brand new everything under the hood. And that process is long, painstaking, and will probably lead to some issues because that 2015 Corolla is not designed to work with a 2022 Corolla. They don't work together. So they have to work out some kinks for that. Is it the car of Theseus, though? Yes, it is. Star Citizen is the game of Theseus. New car, but old car? Effectively, yeah. It's the same frame as 317. It's the same game. You're not going to get many new additions beyond the salvage and cargo stuff. There's definitely new additions, but the functionality of the game stays the same, but with new tech. Oh, you reminded me, is there any plans to allow org ships? Yes, but not this year. Or could I take one of my ships and put it in an org hangar for other access offline? That's planned, but it's been planned since like 2012. We haven't heard shit about orgs for 5 years. So we're still playing 2.0, or is it 2.0 playing us? Yes. Both. 318 equals 317's 1987 Toyota Corolla hatchback body with a brand new V12 engine under the hood. Yeah. I see insurance beyond the whole insurance being a major issue in the game, since it'll just duplicate items, making each item worth less. Very soon credits won't have value. What's the solution? Money sinks. If you want to land at a hangar, you got to pay a fee. You want to transfer money, you got to pay a fee. You buy something, you're going to pay tax. Everything's going to have taxes and fees attached to it. Everything is. You will have to buy food, because if you don't buy food, you'll get starved and die. You'll starve and die. Health insurance will be a thing in Star Citizen. You will have to pay for health insurance. There may be a basic form of health insurance, but it will not do much for you. That you get for free, but it will not do much for you. So if you want to have anything that covers you to make sure that you don't die as frequently or have to reset your character frequently, you can do that. Plus, there's also going to be a permanent death. Well, semi-permanent death. Once you reach a certain point where your heart health bar goes down, you will in fact die. And then you will have to create a new character. It'll inherit everything your old character had, but you gotta pay a death tax. So, welcome to Death and Taxes Space Edition. Later, Mr. Up. Space estate tax, yes. Now, will these things be overwhelming and terrible? No, they'll be small. But the point is that these little small additions will force you to pay things that you normally don't have to pay for in a video game. That way you don't accrue wealth to such a massive degree that you're going to be able to effectively make everything pointless because you have so much money. Inflation is so high because so many people have so much money that it doesn't matter. That's the point of money sinks. No problem, Mr. E. We can actually see this already. If you send anybody money in the verse right now, I think it's a 20 or it's like 5% tax. There's a 5% fee to send money using the system. So you will actually have to pay some of that money that you're sending to in fees before you can do so. MoTrader, yeah, it's 0.5, but it's going to go up and down, and also depend on where you are. If you're trying to send money to people who are criminal, they can track that money, and then you get a negative reputation hit as well for those things as well. So it's beyond just the economy, it's also a reputation buffer. They better not make ongoing port fees or offline food and drink loss. I don't think they plan on doing offline food and drink loss. But I do believe, almost certainly you will have a docking fee is what they called it. So I'm assuming it's, you pay a fee for landing on a port. And you may have a storage fee if you leave it for a certain long time. With all these fees, what if someone goes broke in deep space? CIG has also said that they'll have some ways of making sure that people can get money, even if they're broke in deep space. Effectively, CIG wants to make it so that the only way you will be entirely broke is if you're god-awful at the game. And they, you know, or you're actively ignoring what the game is telling you what to do. Like I said, insurance is going to be like 1,000 credits. So it's not something that's going to break the bank. And docking fees may be 100 credits. You know? Storage fees may be 20 credits a day. IRL day. You know? Or 20 credits, or like a credit an hour. Something like that. Per storage there. Want cargo unloaded? Fee. Want it unloaded? Fee. Want to transit through customs? Fee. Bingo. You want to sell something on the market? Tax. Also, item durability eventually will be break. You always have to repair all of your equipment. All of your equipment will eventually break. Even your armor and your weapons, you will have to maintain them and replace them with new parts. Have to pay a fee? There's an extra fee. Yeah. Nowadays, we just need to spend money buying ships, nothing more. Yeah, effectively. And that's going to change as more of these systems come into place. I do like the idea of reclaiming ships or repairing costing a lot more. Discourages gratuitous griefing too. There's also going to be a time factor, because when you reclaim a ship, it's not just, 50 seconds to get your Aurora back. It's going to be, the Quantum's going to have to issue you a new Aurora, and that Aurora is going to have to be flown to you through a Quantum system. So that timer will be dependent on how long it takes for that Aurora, that digital Aurora inventory, to get to your hangar or where you are. So the further you're away from civilized space, the harder it will be to get that Aurora. But because Auroras are common and they're everywhere, they're a lot more easier for them to find and get to you than, like a Carrack. Timer-based fees, you're going to have to pay something for like hangar stuff. You will get free hangars. So you will get like a hangar for free where you can store your stuff forever and you don't have to worry about it. That's going to be at a single location. If you're outside of that location, you're going to have to pay for it. And that's what insurance is. Insurance will tick down in real time. So if you have 6 months of insurance, it will tick down in real time. So if you buy the game, you play the game, the second insurance gets added to the game or gets activated in the game, you have 6 months of IRL play time with it before you have to re-up it. Like New Deal nearby will have it in Stanton, but in Nix, the nearest 2 systems away. Yeah, so it may take longer. I'm sure they'll have caps on it where you can't get a certain amount beyond this, beyond a certain amount. There'll definitely be some ways that they'll deal with it, but almost certainly you're going to have to pay a fee, and even timer-based fees. But like I said, it's going to be a very small amount, which most people won't notice unless you are a mega backer who has thousands of ships and are trying to fly all of them at the same time. It said that there's 77 people in chat, but only 37 likes. Or it's sad. What do you think about Southland hangars? They're cool. They're cheap. They're everywhere. And none of this stuff I'm saying is like theory crafting. This is all stuff that CIG has said in the past about how they're dealing with inflation. This was stuff that was said in 2012 in terms of how they're going to deal with some of this stuff. Well, Lextron, sorry. That's just the way the game's being designed right now. Cronton. There we go. Now, none of this stuff is going to be activated until the game is much more completed. Some of the stuff, like I'm sure docking fees will come in sooner rather than later, and maybe some storage fees. But insurance isn't really being fully activated until probably well after beta or sometime in beta. Death of a spaceman is another thing that a lot of people don't realize. You will have to be paying for medical insurance. So you die, you have to pay for you yourself to get respawned. There already is LTI hangars. Every hangar you purchase with real money is LTI. You don't have to pay any money for any hangar. So when you buy a ship, it comes with a hangar. That hangar is a free hangar in the verse. Yep, 2 years away for everything. Constantly, forever. Not as egregious as IRL. Like I said, you park your ship in a hangar and you forget it. Say, for instance, say you leave and you don't come back for like a month, 6 months, and you come back to the game. That ship will probably have a storage fee you have to pay, but it'll probably be capped at a certain amount, like 500 credits or something. So you're not going to go broke because you left the game. Unless you were so broke in the first place, you didn't have any money. But Star Citizen will constantly try to put you at the brink of being broke. Almost certainly that's the way the gameplay they want you to do. They want you to be hungry for credits. But they don't want you to be entirely unable to play the game. We don't know about how hangars will work, though. We don't know if a hangar is for a single ship, if it's for multiple ships. I think the way that they do it is it's a single ship thing, but we don't even know how that will work long term. Do you think they'll get to beta soon after they get dynamic server meshing stabilized? Yeah, but I don't think we're going to see dynamic server meshing until like fully, like version 2 of dynamic server meshing, probably not until 2026. So how's this going to affect in-game purchasing of ships? Will you have it be possible to grind for larger vessels? No, it should still be able to get larger vessels. The problem is that a larger vessel is useless unless you're using it with other people. You'll have to save up for it. You'll have to pay for it. But like I said before, bigger vessels is not something that's going to be always more expensive. It's not going to always be 2 billion or 2 million or whatever, like 80 million credits to get an 890 jump. it'll depend on where you are and your reputation or the things about what you purchase. But your credits will never be so egregiously high that you can just grind for 4 months, for like 4 days straight and get all the money. You won't be able to crack four rocks mining and have enough money to buy an 890 jump. Like, that's just not going to happen in the future. You're going to actually have to play the game for an extended period of time for larger ships. But again, you can also, we know that in the future they want to do things like org hangars and organization banks. So you might be able to, as an org, purchase a Kraken with 5 or 6 of you. I don't care what Algrid says. I demand to be able to solo an interest in NPC crew and AI blades. And I say it's not possible. I'm not saying it's impossible to do it. I'm just saying it's not going to be nearly as effective as you think. Hey, Osalis, how you doing, buddy? I got here late. What did you miss? Everything, Dart. We've talked about lots of different things, including the monthly report. But the monthly report will be up. It'll be on the VOD after the fact, and it'll also be up on YouTube on Saturday as a standalone video. I'm good. My throat's giving out to me because I've been talking for almost 4 hours straight. But I'm eyeballing the merchant variant of the Kraken, just traveling from settlement to settlement, selling wares normally not available in that system. I mean, that's a huge ship, though. You're going to probably have to have crew to help you out with that one. And that's the other thing. You're going to have to pay for crew. So if you don't have players to help out with you, if you're using a larger ship, you'll have to pay AI crew members to operate the vessel. And the better the crew members, the more expensive they're going to be. So the point being, I don't remember who fully asked this, but CIG has a full plan for what to do with the economy. And the idea is to never let you get so incredibly rich that money is not an option. It's not like a thing for you. There'll definitely be ways you can do that, but it will involve a lot of work in group work, a lot of other people working with you in that to get that fact, or lucking the fuck out. Like, there probably will be some very rare item that you can get that will be worth 1 billion credits. Finding some ancient wreck that no one has been known to existed. You know, finding a Bengal carrier and selling it. You know, those sorts of big events which will make some players billionaires overnight. They'll happen, but they'll be rare. Still planning to rebel against Lorville? Do you figure out your logistics? Not yet, Dart. There's really no real point to until we can figure out how the quantum system is going to function with those AI, and also for them to even allow us to shoot in Lorville's sides. Finding a jump point. That's not wrong. Finding a jump point is going to make you a lot of credits. A lot of credits, and get you a lot of reputation, depending on what you do with it. But that's still going to, cost you money. All right, it's still going to get you a lot of money. But it's still rare. Super rare. After all, they need to create a reason for stealth and smuggling. Mm-hmm. Like I said, that's not even bringing up Death of the Spaceman, where not only are you going to have to pay for your health insurance, so every time you respawn, you'll have to pay a fee of some kind. You'll have breakdowns. So like say over time, your imprint becomes what's called, has trauma echoes. So your score, which is effectively your hard HP bar, your IVS score will go down. As it goes down, you might lose an arm and then have to get, when it gets reprinted, it doesn't work. So you have to get a prosthetic arm to function. So you'll have to, every time you respawn, you will have to buy a new prosthetic arm or have it covered by your insurance to be able to have it to function. So there will be consequences to your gameplay, where if you are too reckless with yourself, you're going to cost not only your reputation, but a lot of money. And time, because you're also have to respawn, like, get all that gear and get all that stuff back. Do you think they will introduce a new ship designs by hiding them in game when someone discovers the company like Asperia starts to manufacture it? I don't know. That might be a good idea, but I don't see them CIG doing that right off the bat. But that all of this is moot because none of that stuff's coming in the game anytime soon. Likely most of this stuff isn't even planned or isn't even in CIG's radar. Probably won't see it until after their static server meshing, minimum. Because that's when they'll start looking at things like the fuller implementation of the quantum, the death of a spaceman, and so on and so forth. Because they got to get things kind of in a base state before they can get to that point. And trust me, death is going to sting. But it's also going to be a lot harder to die. All right, my voice is about to die, as you can probably hear. And I'm going to be back on Sunday. I won't be here tomorrow. Won't be here on Saturday. Go watch Day of My Rally. I'm going to be making some videos for all y'all who enjoy the lore stuff. I've been doing a lot of videos, a lot of shorts on the channel, on the YouTube channel, TheAstroPubLive, because freaking YouTube is pushing shorts. YouTube pushed my shorts so hard that some of my shorts have gotten more views in shorter amount of time than my standalone videos have. They're some of the best performing videos in many cases that I've had this month. So I'll be continuing to do that, though I will slow down a little bit on them starting after Friday. I just need to build up a lot of hours watched so that when YouTube starts monetizing them, I'll be able to get monetization for them. Not because I want to make money off of them, but because monetization means algorithm push. If you're monetized, YouTube will be much more likely to push your content. And if it pushes your content, it means that you get more eyes on it. Get more eyes on it means you're more likely to get people to say, oh, this person exists, because that's the keys, exposure and those sorts of things. So if you see those, if you see me post a short and you don't mind, hit that like button, make sure you comment on it, spread the love, that sort of thing. If you enjoyed this video and you're watching this after the fact, hit that like button, comment down below your own thoughts. And if you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. If you're watching this on Twitch right now and you enjoyed your time here, there's a follow button. Click it. It's free. And it lets you know when I go live. So I'm going to go to bed. Use shorts to introduce your videos. I plan on. That's sort of right now what I'm doing is I'm taking some clips from Captain Staple and putting them on there because they're kind of like nice little stories, little vignettes, little funny bits. And I link the videos in the description, everything like that. And same with with the Gladiator video that's going to be released on Saturday. I'm going to release a short that will release around the same time, which will specifically link to that Gladiator video, which is kind of a segment of the Gladiator video that I never was able to make. That should tie into it to get people to go over there, that sort of thing. Calling sick tomorrow? God, I wish I could, but it's my short day. I get out of work. I have planning end of the day planning period. So my last class that I have to teach is at 3, and then I can do whatever I need to until the end. And then on Monday as well, same thing. So be fine. Examine Paul Shorts to see his goodies. All right, y'all. Thank you again. Thank you for hanging out. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.